Chapter 2495 Cruel Asura Battlefield. 2495 Cruel Asura Battlefield. Many cultivators put away the teleportation talisman hurriedly with delighted expressions. With this teleportation talisman in his hands, it meant that all the cultivators who entered the Asura battlefield would have a guarantee of safety. Even if they encountered any danger inside, everyone could escape unscathed. Noticing everyone's expressions, Xialing shook his head gently. There's a need to remind everyone that this is only a teleportation talisman. It can't guarantee your safety in the Asura battlefield. The environment inside is complicated and danger is ubiquitous. You may find yourself in peril at any moment. If you don't tear this teleportation talisman in time, you'll still die inside. Everyone's hearts skipped a beat when they heard that, and their relaxed nerves tensed up once more. Xialing's gaze swept past the princes. I know that you've invited many helpers this time round, but these people can only assist in the fight for the seal and can't snatch the Spirit Cloud seal directly. There's a unique seal of the Yen-Yang Immortal Kingdom on the Spirit Cloud seal. Only the bloodline of the Yen-Yang royal family can remove it. At that point, Su Zimo and Xie Qingqing exchanged glances. If there was such a restriction rule, it would add many variables to the battle for the seal. Based on the ranking of the Heaven ranking prediction, Zhong Feiyu, Lai Xian and Song Su, who were 3, 4 and 5 respectively, had the strongest combat strength. However, even if any of the three of them arrived at the lone island in the city beforehand, they would not be able to dispel the seal on the Spirit Cloud seal. It was useless. The arrangement of the Yen-Yang Immortal Kingdom clearly had another meaning. In this battle for the seal, it was not only to test the connections of the princes, but also their individual strength. At that time there might be a fight between the princes. That rule was extremely disadvantageous for Xie Qingqing. Xie Qingqing's cultivation was only at the grade 7 Heaven Immortal Realm, and his combat strength was ranked last among the princes and princess. Instead, the rule provided an advantage for Prince Tianhuang, who was ranked 10 on the Heaven ranking prediction. There was a hint of worry on Xie Qingqing's face. Regardless of how the rules were, he did not have much of a chance of obtaining the seal. As though he could sense the depression in Xie Qingqing's heart, Su Zimo smiled gently. I'll do my best. Don't give up until the final moment. Yes. Xie Qingqing nodded. Everyone, do you have any other questions? Xialing surveyed his surroundings and looked at the remaining 8 teams. Everyone shook their heads and rubbed their palms, prepared to enter the Asura battlefield. Xialing said, everyone is going to stay in the Asura battlefield for a month this time round. During this period of time, no matter what happens inside, the outside world won't interfere. If there are no other questions, I'll activate the teleportation formation. Second brother, hurry? Xie Tianhuang grinned and urged impatiently. Without saying anything more, a few divine lights surged out from Xialing's fingertip and entered the ground in the middle of the square. Whoosh! Instantly, the ground shone brightly and mysterious formation patterns appeared one after another, spinning slowly. Everyone, step onto the teleportation formation. Xialing added. When everyone heard that, they moved one after another. The 8 teams in the square vanished in a flash of light. A desolate and dilapidated world was surrounded by a faint blood-colored fog. Suddenly, a crack appeared in midair and figures fell from within. Su Zimo, Xie Qingqing and 18 other cultivators descended from the skies and stabilized themselves rapidly. They released their spirit consciousnesses and scanned their surroundings. Although the blood-colored fog in the surroundings was thin, it had a significant impact on one's vision and spirit consciousness detection range. Standing in midair, Su Zimo frowned slightly. When all of them descended, they were tainted by the faint blood fog around them. It stuck to their bodies like a layer of tendons. It was extremely uncomfortable. Unexpectedly, this should be the malevolent blood chi that Xie Qingqing mentioned. Su Zimo tried to activate the 6-tusk divine strength with a secret skill. Indeed, he did not succeed and felt a powerful suppression. What sort of evil malevolent blood chi is this powerful? Su Zimo was confused. The 6-tusk divine strength was inherited from the 6-tusk divine elephant. Even in the upper world, the 6-tusk divine elephant was a powerful living being that was not weaker than the dragon race. On land, his combat strength might even surpass the dragon race. Even so, that innate divine power was still sealed by the strange malevolent blood chi. Without the augmentation of the 6-tusk divine strength, his combat strength was greatly affected. Look over there. That's the Asura race, right? A cultivator pointed into the distance and murmured. Everyone else looked over with shocked expressions. Although they had cultivated to become high-level heaven immortals, this was the first time they had seen the Asura race. The Asura laid flat on the ground with a gigantic hole in his chest, and his head was riddled with holes as well. However, his body was massive and muscular, more than 100 feet tall. He had 2 horns on his head and his body was dead silent. Even though he had died for many years, his bronze body still exuded a savage and violent aura. Prince Qingqing, should we take a closer look? Heaven Immortal Yu Ying suggested. Nobody has seen the Asura race before. We can take this opportunity to take a look. Who knows, we might encounter some opportunities. Wah. Xie Qingqing hesitated. Don't go over. Su Zimo glanced in that direction. Hurry and leave this place. Why? Heaven Immortal Yu Ying frowned and could not help but sound displeased with Su Zimo. The moment he made a suggestion, it was rejected by Su Zimo. Naturally, he felt embarrassed. Nearby the Asura, Prince Qing Tian descended with a group of heaven immortals. Right then, 2 red beams of light burst forth from the empty sockets of the Asura corpse that was initially dead. Phew. Immediately after, as though he had suddenly awakened, the Asura sat up and grabbed towards the crowd. Prince Qing Tian and the others were way too close to this Asura. 100 heaven immortals gathered and thought that it was only a corpse of the Asura race. They did not expect the corpse to stand up and attack. Most heaven immortals reacted extremely quickly and dispersed. However, the gigantic hand of the Asura covered the skies and instantly grabbed 3 heaven immortals in his palm, squeezing them. Poof. Before the teleportation talismans of the 3 heaven immortals could be released, they were crushed into sludge and their essence spirits were destroyed. On Xie Qingqing's side, heaven immortal Yu Ying and the others shuddered in fear. Thankfully, they did not rush over immediately. Otherwise, that slap might have been aimed at them. The moment everyone descended on the Asura battlefield, 3 heaven immortals died. Xie Qingqing and the others did not have many people to begin with. If a few more died, none of them would be able to see the ancient city in the center. Even with the teleportation talismans, the Asura battlefield was much more cruel and bloody than many cultivators had imagined. Everywhere was fraught with danger. Chapter 2496, 2496 Monster. 2496 Monster. The Heaven Immortal experts on the side of Prince Qing Tian suppressed their initial fear and were enraged, attacking the Asura one after another. Instantly, divine weapons, dermic treasures, divine powers and secret skills descended one after another and struck the battered body of the Asura. Before long, the Asura was sliced into pieces by the people on the side of Prince Qing Tian and dismantled into pieces. He could not have been more dead. Xie Qingqing and the others had grim expressions. This was only a corpse of the Asura race. Even so, it posed a huge threat to a group of heaven immortals. If they had physiques, bloodlines and were in their peak condition, how terrifying would the Asura race be? There were still countless powerful and troublesome Asuras remaining in this Asura battlefield. Let's go. Xie Qingqing compared the place to a map of the Asura battlefield and headed towards the central region. This was everyone's first time entering the Asura battlefield. Because they were unfamiliar with the environment here, they did not walk fast and observed their surroundings constantly. Along the way, one could see that the battlefield was desolate and strewn with corpses. It was dilapidated and countless shattered weapons were scattered on the ground. In some places, mountains of corpses could be vaguely seen under the cover of the blood fog. It was extremely shocking. One could imagine how tragic the battle was back then. Many different living beings could be seen from the corpses. There was a high chance that thousands of living beings of different races were implicated in the war back then. Look over there. Right then, a skinny cultivator at the back pointed in a direction not far away. There seemed to be something beneath a shattered corpse that was emitting a faint green light. Almost everything in the Asura battlefield was dilapidated and dim. Along the way, the ball of green light not far away was almost the only light they came across. It's a treasure. Almost at the same time, a thought flashed through everyone's minds. To be able to emit light despite the impact of countless years, this treasure definitely contained incredible power. It was isolated by the thin blood fog and no one could see it clearly. From its outline, it looked like an uneven stone. Xie Ling had said that there were some opportunities and encounters in the Asura battlefield that depended on their own fates. I'll go take a look. The skinny cultivator could not hold it in any longer and suppressed the excitement in his heart, prepared to move over. Don't go. Su Zimo frowned slightly and stopped the person in time. Brother Su, what's wrong? Xie Qingqing's heart skipped a beat as he asked hurriedly, did you notice anything amiss? I don't know. Su Zimo shook his head. He could not tell what the green stone was either. However, his spirit perception could sense a hint of danger. When everyone heard Su Zimo's warning, they did not dare to be careless and hurriedly released their spirit consciousnesses to scan the area a few times but did not find anything unusual. We should just leave, Xie Qingqing said. Although he did not discover any problems, he was still willing to believe in Su Zimo. However, the others were hesitant. After all, the treasure was right in front of them and no one wanted to miss it. What if it was some huge opportunity that could change their fates and allow them to soar? Yu Ying's heart itched as well. However, he did not dare to act rashly. Rolling his eyes, he came up with a plan and probed, fellow Taoist Su, aren't you being a little too cautious? The skinny cultivator who discovered the treasure initially could not hold it in to begin with. When he heard that, he said hurriedly, that's right. You guys can just stay here, I'll go take a look. Su Zimo had only met these people by chance and did not have much of a relationship with them. It was already extremely benevolent of him to remind them once. If he insisted on stopping this person, he might incur the other party's hatred instead. Su Zimo did not persuade further and merely said indifferently, I can ensure everyone's safety within 100 feet radius. Beyond this radius, if anything happens, I won't be able to save you guys. The stone that was emitting green light was clearly more than 100 feet away. Su Zimo's words were actually a warning to the other party. However, the skinny cultivator was unappreciative and grumbled, didn't you fail to notice anything wrong with it either? Furthermore, with the teleportation talisman in my hands, even if there's any danger, I can just escape. As he said that, the skinny cultivator took out the teleportation talisman and held it in his hands, prepared to tear it apart at any moment. Actually, apart from Su Zimo, none of the cultivators who followed Xie Qingqing into the Asura battlefield truly wanted to help him obtain the seal. That was because in everyone's opinion, that was something impossible. The reason why everyone followed him into the Asura battlefield was for the treasures and opportunities here. Right now, opportunities and treasures were right in front of them. As long as they could get their hands on them, they could tear the teleportation talismans and leave this place even if they encountered danger. None of them cared much about fighting for the seal. Be careful. When Xie Qingqing saw that he could not stop the person, he could only remind. The skinny cultivator nodded and walked over slowly with the teleportation talisman in his left hand. Although he was indifferent to Su Zimo's warning, he did not dare to be careless. He was tense the entire way and released his spirit consciousness, watching and listening in all directions. He was prepared to crush the teleportation talisman in his hands at the slightest activity. In the blink of an eye, the skinny cultivator was already 100 feet away and did not encounter any danger. After a while, he finally arrived before the stone that emitted a green glow. The surroundings were still silent and there was nothing unusual. The skinny cultivator felt slightly better and heaved a sigh of relief. He glared at the stone before him and frowned slightly. The stone was in the shape of a camel and was uneven. There was some sparse green fur on it and it was not a green light. The skinny cultivator had never seen such a thing before and squatted down instinctively, wanting to take a closer look. Right then a change happened. The ground split open and a rusty fork broke out of the ground, piercing the skinny cultivator's chest instantly. Immediately after, the camel-shaped stone charged out as well, revealing an ugly and terrifying face. Suddenly, it opened its bloody mouth and devoured the skinny cultivator's head. Everything had happened way too quickly. With a lost expression, the skinny cultivator's neck was snapped and fresh blood gushed out. Before his essence spirit could escape, his head was devoured by the ugly monster. With a few bites, the monster crushed the skinny cultivator's head. That person's essence spirit was destroyed and he was dead. The headless corpse knelt on the spot weakly and the palm of the skinny cultivator loosened gradually. Even till his death he could not crush the teleportation talisman. Psst. Xie Qingqing and the others were shocked when they saw that. They had never seen such an ugly living being. It had greenish-black skin and wielded an iron fork. Its head was in the shape of a camel and it had thin green fur. It had a menacing expression like a malevolent ghost. The monster glared at Xie Qingqing and the others with bloodshot eyes. Creak, creak. The monster was still chewing the skinny cultivator's head in its mouth and the sound of its teeth snapping the latter's skull sounded extremely terrifying. Fresh blood flowed between its sharp fangs. Chapter 2497 Yaksha Race. 2497 Yaksha Race. Xie Qingqing and the others felt their hairs stand on end from the monster's stare. This monster seemed to be even more terrifying than the Asura race. Although the Asura race was tall and burly like fiend celestials, they did not look so terrifying at the very least. The monster before them was like a malevolent ghost that appeared mysteriously and could even deceive everyone's senses. Su Zimo stared at the monster thoughtfully. For some unknown reason, when he saw that monster, the Rakshasa race appeared in his mind. Although the two of them looked different, they were ugly and terrifying with menacing expressions like malevolent ghosts. Furthermore, their methods were extremely violent and their combat strength was shocking. Even if the skinny cultivator was prepared, he would not have been able to defend against that attack earlier on. However, that monster looked extremely different from the Rakshasa race. Even the weakest Rakshasa had wings as sharp as scythes. However, the monster before him did not have wings. Yaksha. Xie Qingqing exclaimed softly with a pale expression. So, this is the Yaksha race. Su Zimo murmured softly in deep thought. Previously, when he heard Xie Qingqing describe the Yaksha race, he felt a sense of déjà vu. Now that he saw the Yaksha race with his own eyes, the feeling was even more obvious. In reality, apart from their appearances, there was a huge difference between the weapons, methods and techniques used by the Yaksha and Rakshasa races. The connection between the Yaksha and Rakshasa races was merely a wild thought on Su Zimo's part without any basis. Furthermore, he knew too little about the Yaksha race. At the thought of the Rakshasa race, Su Zimo could not help but recall Rakshasa Yu of Tianhuang mainland. He heard that Rakshasa Yu had already ascended to the upper world and did not know how she was doing. Right then, the Yaksha had already chewed the skinny cultivator's skull. After swallowing it, it suddenly grinned at Xie Qingqing and the others, revealing a row of grisly red teeth. Immediately after, the Yaksha vanished. This was not teleportation. The living beings in the Asura battlefield had died for many years. This Yaksha was controlled by the malevolent blood chi and could not release teleportation divine powers. However, it had indeed vanished. Just as Xie Qingqing and the others were in a daze, Su Zimo's voice sounded. Watch out. Su Zimo stood beside Xie Qingqing and his expression changed. Suddenly he reached out and pulled Xie Qingqing to the side. Almost at the same time, the ground beneath Xie Qingqing's feet tore open and a rusted iron fork broke out of the ground, almost piercing past his body by a hair's breadth. If Su Zimo had been slightly slower, Xie Qingqing would have been pierced from the bottom up by the iron fork. Even if he did not die, he would have been severely injured. Su Zimo saved Xie Qingqing and strode forward without stopping. Gripping the incoming iron fork with his left hand, he stomped on the ground with his right foot. Boom. That stomp caused the ground to quake slightly. The sound of bones cracking could even be heard. Su Zimo gripped the iron fork in reverse and pulled it up. A figure was pulled out from the cracked mud beneath his feet. It was the Yaksha from earlier on. Although the Yaksha's hands were still gripping the iron fork tightly, its body was slumped on the ground and its head was ruptured. It could no longer fight. Xie Qingqing and the others broke out in cold sweat when they saw that. This Yaksha was elusive and traveled underground without anyone noticing. What was even more frightening was that this Yaksha was not a living being. It was controlled by the malevolent blood chi and relied on an instinctive combat technique. Even so, it still had such powerful and terrifying killing methods. If it was a living Yaksha, what sort of existence would it be? Brother Su, thank you for saving my life. Xie Qingqing expressed his thanks hurriedly with lingering fear. Let's hurry and leave this place. Su Zimo said in a deep voice, the commotion here should have alarmed some living beings on the battlefield. Indeed, before Su Zimo's sentence was finished, a series of furious roars sounded from the depths of the blood fog in the distance. Although he could not see their exact location, it was clear that other Asuras, powerful demon beasts and even Yakshas had awakened. The roars intensified as though terrifying living beings such as the Asuras were everywhere. What should we do? Heaven Immortal Yuang and the others panicked. The enthusiasm everyone had when they first entered the Asura battlefield cooled down rapidly after seeing a few Heaven Immortal experts die one after another. Everyone merely wanted to join in and obtain some opportunities. However, none of them wanted to lose their lives. Prince Qingqing, we seem to have been surrounded. Heaven Immortal Yuang whispered, should we tear the teleportation talismans and leave this place? It's not a big deal to get the seal. If we lose our lives because of this, the gains won't make up for the losses. Xie Qingqing clenched his fists indignantly. Was he going to retreat the moment he entered? Right then Su Zimo spoke, "Those who want to stay follow me closely. Try not to be too far away from me and don't go beyond a radius of 100 feet." With that said, Su Zimo took the first step forward. Xie Qingqing was invigorated and hurried forward, walking shoulder to shoulder with Su Zimo. Heaven Immortal Yu Ying and the others exchanged glances. After a moment of hesitation, they braced themselves and followed. Indeed, everyone felt embarrassed to leave now. Although they followed behind Su Zimo, everyone took out their teleportation talismans just in case. They gripped them in their palms, prepared to tear them at any moment and escape. Su Zimo was headed in the right direction. However, along the way he would often deviate from his original trajectory. Occasionally he would walk to the side and circle around once more, as though he was avoiding something. There was no pattern to speak of. It was as though Su Zimo was doing everything casually. Although everyone was puzzled, they did not dare to leave the group on their own. Another Yaksha had just appeared. This time round, the Yaksha suddenly broke through the blood fog and descended from the skies, lunging towards everyone. However, before the Yaksha could touch everyone's bodies, its head was pierced by the heaven-slaying sword chi released by Su Zimo's fingertip and it died completely. This time round, everyone was still caught off guard. This Yaksha was different from the one earlier on. Although they were both menacing, this Yaksha had a pair of thin meat wings beneath its ribs that connected its arms and feet. Descending from the skies, it was like a gigantic bat. After such a change, everyone chose to follow closely behind Su Zimo. Nobody dared to go beyond 50 feet, let alone 100. Strangely enough, after half a day, the initially furious roars in the surroundings grew further and further away from everyone and gradually faded. Although they encountered some ambushes along the way, there were not many living beings that stopped them, there were only one or two. Furthermore, Su Zimo warned everyone in advance each time they were about to meet with danger. If everyone was prepared and joined forces, they would be able to kill the danger before long and continue forward. A day passed and everyone did not encounter any huge dangers along the way. There were no large-scale obstructions by many Asuras, demon beasts or Yakshas along the way. It was as though everyone had escaped unscathed from the encirclement of powerful living beings such as the Asura race under Su Zimo's lead. Chapter 2498 Gradually Emerging. 2498 Gradually Emerging. In the skies above the Asura battlefield, 6 figures stood in midair outside the blood-colored fog, emitting powerful auras as they looked down at the Asura battlefield. Divine Rainbow, Divine Swamp, Divine Wind, Divine Crane, Divine Cloud and Divine Flames. The 6 of them were none other than the 6 perfected immortals of Divine Firmament Palace's heaven-ranking prediction. The Divine Firmament Immortal Meet was a grand event that happened once every 100,000 years in the Divine Firmament Immortal domain. During this period of time, the most eye-catching segment was the competition and announcement of the heaven ranking. This was also the best opportunity for countless paragons and monster incarnates to make a name for themselves in the world. Prior to that, the heaven ranking prediction became extremely important. This was equivalent to turning the Divine Firmament Immortal domain into an invisible battlefield to select the 100 most outstanding heaven immortals in the entire immortal domain. Therefore, Divine Firmament Palace placed immense importance on the battle for the seal in the Asura battlefield as well. They sent 6 perfected immortals to evaluate the battle and update the ranking of the heaven ranking prediction in real time. Because the Asura battlefield was extremely vast, the 6 perfected immortals could not pay attention to every team. Therefore, the 6 of them divided the Asura battlefield into 6 regions and each of them was in charge of one of them. Once the 8 teams gathered in the ancient city, the 6 perfected immortals would be able to pay attention to everyone. Perfected Immortal Divine Rainbow said, "To think that these corpses that have died for many years would be able to awaken and become undead experts after being corroded by this malevolent blood chi. I wonder what's the background of this malevolent blood chi?" Perfected Immortal Divine Swamp asked. "The source is in the lake in the center of the ancient city. However, our spirit consciousnesses can't scan into it either." Perfected Immortal Divine Wind said deeply, "I'm guessing that it might be the corpse of an ancient demon beast." Suddenly, Divine Cloud said, "Under the encirclement of the Asuras, Yakshas and various demon beasts, the princes of the Yin-Yang immortal kingdoms suffered considerable losses." "Indeed." Divine Flames nodded and said, "Although these teams have experts on the heaven ranking prediction at the front to fight their way out, for the past 2 days, The undead in the Asura battlefield have been endless. The other cultivators can't defend against them at all. Divine Wind and the others nodded as well. Only Fairy Divine Crane's eyes flashed with a strange glint without saying anything. After 2 days, the princes led their teams and arrived at the ancient city one after another after countless killing and escaping. Princess Yu Yen and Zhong Feiyu's group were the first to arrive at the ancient city. Although there was an expert like Zhong Feiyu who was rank 3 on the heaven ranking prediction, half of the 100-strong team were already gone by the time they arrived at the ancient city. Some of the cultivators died before they could tear their teleportation talismans apart. Some of the cultivators could not save themselves when they were in danger and could only tear apart their talismans and leave the battlefield. Before long, rank 10 on the heaven ranking prediction, Prince Tianhuang, Prince Ming Jiong and Song Si's team, Prince Yan and Lai Xian's team as well as Prince Feng and Heaven Immortal Luo Yang's team arrived one after another. Every single team was in an extremely sorry state. Even Prince Yan and Lai Xian's team who suffered the least losses lost close to 40 people. The other teams only had around 30 to 40 people left. The 7th team that arrived was Prince Xing Yan who nearly had a conflict with Su Zimo. His team looked even more miserable with only 14 people left. Although there were 2 experts on the heaven ranking prediction among the 100 heaven immortals he gathered, their rankings were not high and they could not protect too many people. Of the 9 teams, only 2 had yet to arrive at the ancient city. Right then, Fairy Divine Crane suddenly said, Prince Qing Tian's team has already been eliminated. There were only 8 teams left in the Asura battlefield. The 6 perfected immortals were not surprised by this outcome. Although Prince Qing Tian's team had 100 heaven immortals, he lacked true experts. There wasn't a single person on the heaven ranking prediction. It was not surprising that they could not break through the obstruction of the Asura race and the other undead monsters. Divine Cloud said, there's still a team that hasn't arrived. If I remember correctly, they should be on Divine Crane's side. It's Ye Qingqing and Su Zimo's team. Divine Wind smiled. There's too few of them. I don't think they can even defend against the first wave of the undead on the battlefield. That's right. Even if Su Zimo is the only one left, it'll be difficult for him to survive alone. Divine Flame shook his head gently. That's not true. Fairy Divine Crane suddenly said, of the 9 teams, his is the one that suffered the least losses. Divine Cloud and the others were surprised. Take a look. Fairy Divine Crane pointed down at Xie Qingqing, Su Zimo and the others who were about to arrive at the ancient city. The other 5 perfected immortals looked over and their expressions changed. What's going on? There's just one missing person? Everyone could clearly see that Xie Qingqing's group had 18 people when they entered. Now that they were about to arrive at the ancient city, there were still 17 left. What was even stranger was that although the group of them were travel-worn, there were no wounds or blood on their bodies and they did not look wretched at all. What's going on? Divine Swamp was shocked and could not help but ask. By the looks of it, this group did not seem to have encountered a large-scale attack from the undead on the battlefield? Divine Cloud asked with a frown. Divine Flames analyzed, could it be that someone in this team knows some methods or treasures that can hide their auras from the undead? The 5 of them were observing the other teams in the other regions previously and did not pay attention to the movements of Xie Qingqing and Su Zimo. Since Fairy Divine Crane was in charge of observing them, she was the only one who could answer those questions. To be precise, they did not hide their auras. Fairy Divine Crane recalled her observations over the past 2 days and said in a deep voice, it feels more like someone sensed the aura of the undead beforehand and avoided danger. Under normal circumstances, without condensing a Dao fruit, the detection range of the spirit consciousness in the blood fog is limited. Who among them can penetrate the malevolent blood qi and sense the danger ahead? Divine Flames asked with a frown. It should be Su Zimo. Fairy Divine Crane said, for the past 2 days I saw that his trajectory was irregular and he often took twists and turns. That's also the reason why they were the last team to arrive. Initially I did not pay much attention. However, later on I realized that each time the team detoured, they would avoid the powerful undead hidden in the blood fog ahead. When they heard that, the 5 perfected immortals shuddered and were shocked. They avoided danger even before they saw or heard anything. Could such a legendary ability truly exist? This battle for the seal has suddenly turned interesting. Perhaps the final outcome will exceed our expectations. Fairy Divine Crane suddenly smiled with a hint of anticipation in her beautiful eyes. Naturally, the 6 perfected immortals knew of Su Zimo's participation. However, no one paid attention at first. The difference in strength between rank 24 and the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction was way too great. They were not the only ones. The various factions and cultivators of the Divine Firmament Immortal Domain that were paying attention to this matter had also made their own guesses. Some people thought that Princess Yu Yen might have the greatest chance with Zhong Feiyu's help. Some people felt that Prince Tianhuang was strong to begin with since he was ranked 10 on the heaven ranking prediction. As such, he had the highest chance of having the last laugh. Some people even predicted that Prince Yen might win after obtaining Lai Xian's help. But now, 2 days after the battle for the seal, a variable seemed to have appeared on the battlefield. A grade 6 heaven immortal that was almost ignored by everyone gradually revealed his brilliance and sharpness in this cruel and bloody Asura battlefield. Chapter 2499 Mysterious Malevolent Blood Qi. 2499 Mysterious Malevolent Blood Qi. The ancient city in the center of the Asura battlefield. The ancient city was long dilapidated with only derelict walls left. However, there was still a mysterious power left in the ancient city that shocked the undead on the battlefield. Be it the Asuras, Yakshas or other demon beast races, all of them who were chasing the cultivators stopped in their tracks when they arrived here. They lingered for a moment before dispersing. In the ancient city, the teams managed to break free from the pursuit of the undead after much difficulty. After charging into the ancient city, they did not continue forward and rested around the city gate to recuperate. Some of them were severely injured, some of them had expended a lot of energy and some of them had horrified expressions with lingering fear, as though they were shocked. Not only did the malevolent blood qi possess a strange sealing power, it could even invade the bodies of living beings and affect the Dao hearts of cultivators. If they did not recover as soon as possible and compose themselves, there was a high chance that they would be invaded by the malevolent blood qi and their Dao hearts would be tainted, causing them to enter qi deviation and lose their rationality. After the 2 days, the difference between them could be seen. Only a few experts in the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction were not affected much when they arrived at the ancient city. Although the few of them had expended quite a bit of energy as well, they recovered quickly after eating some spirit pills and did not have to focus on recuperating. Xie Qingqing isn't here yet. Xie Tianhuang had a relaxed expression as he chuckled. Could he have already left the Asura battlefield? Yu Hai said in a deep voice, there are only slightly more than 10 people in his group. It's difficult for them to break through the pursuit of the undead of the various races. He escaped yet another calamity. The number 1 heaven execution guard, Song Su, had a cold gaze and his tone carried a hint of regret. If I had known, I would have attacked him back in the Yenyang Palace and killed him first. What a pity. Zhong Feiyu pouted as well. At the same time, under Su Zimo's lead, Xie Qingqing and the others finally arrived at the ancient city and escaped from danger. Everyone exchanged glances and heaved a sigh of relief with joy. At the very least, they no longer had to be on tenterhooks after entering the ancient city. There aren't many awakened undead in the Asura battlefield. We encountered a couple of them along the way, but they were killed with ease. Yes, as long as fellow Taoist Su reminds us, we'll be prepared. There's nothing to fear. That's right. We were a little careless at the beginning and were only scared after seeing a few people die before our very eyes. Heaven Immortal Yuing said, actually, the Asura battlefield isn't as savage as what the outside world claims. If we didn't take those detours, we could have arrived at the ancient city sooner. Perhaps the other teams have already entered the city. As he said that, Xie Qingqing and the others entered the ancient city. When Heaven Immortal Yuing saw the messy footsteps at the city gate, he shook his head. Indeed, I was right. We took too many detours and the other princes have already arrived here first. Su Zimo had an indifferent expression and remained silent. As Heaven Immortal Yuing spoke, everyone had already entered the ancient city and saw a group of cultivators healing on the spot near the city gate. Sensing the commotion, the cultivators opened their eyes and looked over as well. Both parties exchanged glances and were stunned on the spot, dumbfounded. The city gate fell into a long silence. How is that possible? A few princes and many cultivators were shocked and their eyes widened in disbelief. Xie Qingqing and the others had arrived here alive. What was even more amazing was that they were only missing one person. Furthermore, the remaining 17 cultivators, Xie Qingqing included, were neatly dressed without any bloodstains on their bodies. Their breathings were steady and their faces were rosy. None of them looked like they had arrived here after experiencing countless life and death battles. As for Xie Qingqing, Heaven Immortal Yuing and the others, they were shocked when they saw the situation on the other end. They did not look like teams of Heaven Immortals. The group of people were scattered, either sitting or lying limply on the ground with dispirited expressions. At first glance, they looked like a group of wretched escapees covered in injuries. What was even more frightening was that the Heaven Immortal experts under the lead of the princes opposite them suffered immense losses and their numbers were halved. For example, Prince Xingyan's team had lost so many Heaven Immortals that their team had even less people than Prince Qingqing's team now. What did they experience? Did we miss something? Countless questions flashed through the minds of Heaven Immortal Yuing and the others. Su Zimo was not surprised by this. He turned to look at Heaven Immortal Yuing and patted him on the shoulder, saying earnestly, "From your tone earlier on, you must be upset that I've taken us too far off course. If you're interested, why don't you take a walk outside yourself?" Heaven Immortal Yuing shuddered and shook his head hurriedly, smiling embarrassedly. "And no, I'm not interested." No matter how slow everyone was, they gradually understood. If Su Zimo had not led the way, what they had experienced would not have been so simple. When they saw the tragic state of the cultivators opposite them, everyone had no doubt that they might not even be able to see the shadow of the ancient city if they advanced normally. Xie Qingqing did not say much and looked at Su Zimo gratefully. Unlike the other cultivators, Zhong Feiyu, Song Su and the other experts who were on the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction were initially surprised at the appearance of Su Zimo and the others. Immediately after, a look of joy flashed through their eyes. It was the joy of regaining something that was lost. However, none of them attacked immediately. Since Su Zimo had already entered the city, there was no need to rush. Furthermore, it was clear that there was more than one person interested in Su Zimo. All of them were wary and had to look for a suitable opportunity. Although Su Zimo did not look at Zhong Feiyu and the others, he could still sense their hostility. He was unmoved. What would come would eventually come. "Let's check out the ancient city," Su Zimo suggested. Their group was different from the other Heaven Immortals and Immortals. They were not injured and were in no hurry to rest and recuperate. At that moment, everyone was already convinced by Su Zimo. Even Heaven Immortal Yuing nodded in agreement right away. Xie Qingqing and more than 10 other cultivators entered the depths of the ancient city and disappeared under the complicated gazes of many cultivators. "Brother Su, you seem to have something on your mind along the way?" Xie Qingqing noticed that Su Zimo would often be in deep thought after entering the Asura battlefield. Su Zimo did not reply immediately. Along the way, apart from using his spirit perception to lead everyone to avoid danger and advance, he was also secretly channeling a few divine powers and secret skills. After a few attempts, he discovered something strange. The malevolent blood chi could indeed seal the six-tusked divine strength. Even his rock wings would be sealed and could not be activated. However, during this period of time he tried to activate the secret skills of the Hell Suppression Tripod, the True Dragon 9 Flashes, Heavenly Perfected Water and Southern Mingli Fire. Yet they were not sealed. Logically speaking, those three secret skills were related to demon beasts as well. However, the malevolent blood chi did not have much of a reaction to them. What made Su Zimo feel even stranger was that his initial discomfort had gradually disappeared under the encirclement of the malevolent blood chi. Not only that, the malevolent blood chi seemed to be nourishing his flesh. Chapter 2500 4th Secret Skill. 2500 4th Secret Skill. Of course, that feeling was not obvious and was almost undetectable. Su Zimo was not certain either. This change did not seem like it was caused by the Green Lotus true body itself. If he encountered energy that could be devoured, such as immortal herbs and spirit wood, the Green Lotus true body would have a relatively obvious reaction. However, on the Asura battlefield, the Green Lotus true body was extremely quiet. The malevolent blood chi could seal the six-tusked divine elephant and rock wings. However, it could not seal the True Dragon 9 Flashes, Heavenly Perfected Water and Southern Mingli Fire. The reason could naturally be because the three secret skills were inherited from the Hell Suppression Tripod. However, there was another explanation possible. The three secret skills came from the three sacred beasts. Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat and his eyes lit up. Suddenly he thought of a possibility. The malevolent blood chi might have something to do with the sacred beast, the white tiger. That was the only way the malevolent blood chi could seal the power of most demon beasts as well. Legend has it that the four sacred beasts were the progenitors of the dragon, phoenix, tiger and turtle races. Born in chaos, they ruled over all other living beings. In terms of bloodline, sacred beasts surpassed even taboos. Back on the Dragon Abyss star, when the Azure Dragon's sacred soul on the Hell Suppression tripod awakened, the Dragon Phoenix essence spirit part of Su Zimo's essence spirit felt suppressed. It was clear how terrifying the four sacred beasts were. If the malevolent blood chi in the Asura battlefield came from the sacred beast, the white tiger, many things could be explained. The white tiger was located in the west and specialized in killing, possessing a malevolent aura. The malevolent aura contained killing, berserk and violent emotions. If a cultivator's Tao heart was unstable, they would naturally be invaded by the malevolent aura and lose their minds. As for the Asuras, Yakshas and various demon beasts that died on the battlefield, they were also controlled by the malevolent aura and only knew how to kill. That was the reason why they attacked Su Zimo and the others wildly. There was something more important. The reason why his flesh could absorb the malevolent blood chi of the battlefield was not because of the Green Lotus true body. There was a high chance that it was because of the secret skill on the fourth tripod wall of the Hell Suppression tripod. That secret skill was inherited from the White Tiger's sacred soul. After the Hell Suppression tripod was repaired, Su Zimo had already obtained the inheritance of this secret skill. However, all these years he had no idea how to cultivate it. In reality, it was difficult for humans to cultivate the secret skills of the Hell Suppression tripod and the four sacred souls. The reason why Su Zimo did not encounter many obstacles cultivating the first three secret skills was mainly because he had obtained many inheritances of the three races. He had once condensed the Dragon Phoenix true body. Therefore, it was only logical for him to cultivate the true Dragon Nine Flashes and Southern Mingli Fire. As for heavenly perfected water from the Black Tortoise sacred soul, he had also obtained the innate divine power inheritance of the Spirit Turtle Shield from the mystic classic of the 12 Demon Kings of the Great Wilderness. Therefore it was not difficult to cultivate. However, the fourth secret skill came from the White Tiger's sacred soul. Up till this point of his cultivation he had not cultivated any cultivation technique or secret skill of the tiger race, let alone the White Tiger. Therefore he could not cultivate the fourth inheritance secret skill successfully for a long time. He had even thought that if his brother from the lower worlds, the Spirit Tiger, was by his side, it might be of some help to him. However, Monkey, the Spirit Tiger, Little Fox and the others had ascended for many years and would definitely not land in the heavenly world. Naturally they could not be contacted either. Brother Su. At the side, Xie Qingqing called out once more in a testing manner when he saw that Su Zimo was still silent. Ah. Su Zimo snapped out of his stupor and smiled apologetically. It's nothing much. After pondering for a moment, Su Zimo said, there's still more than 20 days to the final fight for the seal. Anything can happen during this period of time. Xie Qingqing could clearly tell that Su Zimo was implying something. Su Zimo said, if anything happens to me during this period of time, don't worry. Don't give up until the last moment. The matter of the malevolent blood chi was only his own speculation and he was not certain. Therefore he did not explain things to Xie Qingqing. All right. Xie Qingqing did not ask further. Instead he took a deep breath and agreed. The group of them continued along the streets of the ancient city and the surrounding structures were already dilapidated. However, from the outline of the buildings, it was not hard to guess that human cultivators like them lived in this ancient city back then. After walking for a while more, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat as he sensed a faint essence chi fluctuation. He glanced sideways at a residence not far away on the street. The residence looked relatively intact. Let's take a look over there. Su Zimo pointed and headed towards the residence with Xie Qingqing. When they approached, Su Zimo did not hesitate and pushed the door open. Unable to withstand the external force, the door collapsed and dust billowed. Everyone casually released a few cleansing techniques and purged the surrounding dust. How about settling down here? Xie Qingqing surveyed his surroundings. The residence was not small and there were more than 10 houses around it for everyone to settle down and rest. Su Zimo nodded without any objections. He followed the slight essence chi fluctuation and arrived before a room, pushing the door open gently. The room was not big and there were some tables, chairs, beds, kitchen utensils and a single glance was enough to see everything. Su Zimo's gaze shifted and landed on the wall beside him. It was covered with a thick layer of dust and spiderweb. Through it one could vaguely see some marks on the wall. The essence chi fluctuation came from this wall. Waving his robes, Su Zimo removed the dust and spiderweb on the wall and focused his gaze. There were diagrams etched on the walls, as though they were depicting a massive battle that happened here in the past. However, those diagrams could no longer be seen clearly after the sands of time. He could only roughly distinguish some living beings with obvious characteristics. It was as though there was an Asura within that looked indomitable. His head was already above the clouds as he looked down at the ground with a sinister gaze. Su Zimo counted. The Asura had 8 arms. According to Heavenly Wolf, only Emperor Realm Asuras had 8 arms. Even after so many years, Su Zimo could still sense how terrifying and powerful the Asura was through the incomplete and dilapidated diagrams. His 8 arms wielded different weapons, his martial arts moved the universe, and his fiend might was unparalleled. Apart from the Asura race, Su Zimo also caught sight of the Yaksha race. The diagrams revealed the 2 different types of Yakshas they encountered on the battlefield as well. Beside the Yaksha race there was a line of small words. According to the description, the Yaksha race had a total of 3 major lineages. The first Yaksha that Su Zimo and the others encountered that appeared from underground was an earth Yaksha. Later on, the Yaksha that flew down from the skies like a gigantic bat was a heavenly Yaksha. There was another type that lived in rivers, lakes and oceans. Those were the water Yakshas. Apart from the 3 Yaksha lineages, there was an even stronger Yaksha known as the Void Yakshas, and it was said that they were extremely rare. Chapter 2501 Bird in a Cage. 2501 Bird in a Cage. Yaksha was a Sanskrit word. The translation of it mentioned that they were extremely agile, could bite ghosts and had unfathomable movements. The diagrams on the wall had long turned blurry. Su Zimo took a closer look but could not find any clues about the malevolent blood chi. According to Xialing, there was a lake in the center of the ancient city where the malevolent blood chi was condensed. That was the source. Su Zimo left the place and headed to the center of the ancient city to check things out. You guys rest here. I'll go out for a walk. Su Zimo informed Xie Qingqing. All right. Xie Qingqing nodded. After arriving at the ancient city, there was no danger for the time being without the pursuit of the Asura race and the other undead. Su Zimo left the residence and headed towards the center of the ancient city. As he ventured deeper, the malevolent blood chi in the surroundings intensified and turned richer. The radius that his eyesight and spirit consciousness could detect was shrinking continuously. Relying on his spirit perception, Su Zimo was fearless and sped forward in huge strides. About an hour later he gradually slowed down. Suddenly Su Zimo leaped up and stood in midair. Looking down he could see a gigantic lake not far ahead. An endless malevolent blood chi was spreading out from the lake. In the middle of the lake, a small lone island could vaguely be seen through the blood fog. If he was not wrong, the spirit cloud seal was on it. Su Zimo descended once more and arrived at the edge of the lake. Gathering his vision, he looked into the lake. The lake was dark with a strange blood glint. He could not see anything and did not know what was in the lake. Su Zimo took out a useless heaven-grade dermic treasure from his storage bag and channeled his spirit consciousness to control it to speed towards the front of the lake. The moment the heaven-grade dermic treasure entered the range of the lake, a few streams of malevolent blood chi gathered, as though they had formed a gigantic beast head that emitted a violent and terrifying aura. Even Su Zimo, who was standing at the edge of the lake, could sense it clearly. He was extremely decisive and severed his spirit consciousness connection to the heaven-grade dermic treasure. The beast head opened its bloody mouth and devoured the heaven-grade dermic treasure instantly. Immediately after, the beast head glanced sideways in the direction where Su Zimo was standing. Its gaze was cold and filled with endless killing intent. That single glance sent chills down Su Zimo's spine. If he had not severed his spirit consciousness from the heaven-grade dermic treasure, the beast head might have even chased after him. It seemed like Xialing was right, it was impossible to cross the lake. At the very least, given his current cultivation, he could not defend against the devouring of the malevolent blood chi at all. Above the ancient city, the 6 perfected immortals of Divine Firmament Palace noticed the commotion as well. Divine Swamp smiled gently. Su Zimo is rather cautious and reacts quickly. It was no wonder why he was able to avoid Zhu Wuying's assassination attempt. Fairy Divine Crane suddenly frowned. He's in trouble. She was not the only one. The other 5 perfected immortals had already noticed that 6 figures were splitting into different directions in the blood fog and advancing towards Su Zimo's location, getting closer and closer. I can understand why Song Su and Zhong Feiyu want to deal with Su Zimo. After all, this lad has a deep feud with the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom and Flying Immortal Sect's Zither Immortal. Perfected Immortal Divine Rainbow frowned. However, Lai Xian, Xie Tianhuang, Yu Hai and Heaven Immortal Luo Yang don't seem to have any grudges with this lad, right? Divine Flames chuckled. Don't forget that lad has the Pure Jade manual with him. Even I'm tempted, let alone the four of them. However, it's not convenient for me to attack because of my status. If Su Zimo's Pure Jade manual was snatched away in a fight of the same cultivation realm, it would be because he was not skilled enough and he could not blame anyone. However, as perfected immortals, if they attacked Su Zimo, it would be bullying the young. Divine Firmament Palace could not afford to lose face like this. 6 of the top 10 on the Heaven ranking prediction are ganging up on Su Zimo of Heaven and Earth Academy. That lad's going to be eliminated real soon. Divine Cloud crossed his arms and looked like he was watching a show. Divine Rainbow pouted as well. By the looks of it, even if it was Yun Ting or Jianghu, it would be difficult for them to escape unscathed. Su Zimo looked at the lake before him thoughtfully and hesitated. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat as he narrowed his gaze and turned around slowly. He looked into the depths of the blood fog before him and said, "Since you guys are already here, show yourselves." Piak, piak, piak. Heaven Immortal Luo Yang was the first to walk out. He clapped and looked at Su Zimo meaningfully. "Su Zimo, I didn't expect to see you here again after parting at the Dragon Abyss Star." From another part of the blood fog, Yu Hai walked out as well and praised, "What sharp senses. To think that I couldn't hide from you." Immediately after, Song Su appeared with an execution saber in his hands. He was filled with a murderous aura as he glared at Su Zimo, ready to kill at any moment. My, what a crowd. The red-headed Xie Tianhuang appeared slowly with a cynical smile on his face as well. A blazing light tore through the blood fog and Lai Xian walked over slowly. Su Zimo looked at the 5 Heaven Immortals who were on the top 10 of the Heaven ranking prediction with a calm expression, not surprised at all. "Su Zimo, do you have any last words?" Song Su asked coldly. Su Zimo did not reply and looked into the depths of the blood fog on the other side. "Zhong Feiyu, how long are you prepared to stay inside?" "Interesting." After a moment of silence, a chuckle sounded from the blood fog. Zhong Feiyu looked at Su Zimo and revealed himself slowly, saying in surprise, "You actually discovered my tracks." When he saw that everyone was already present, Su Zimo asked calmly, "How? Are you guys prepared to attack together?" Yu Hai was the first to take a step back and spread his hands. "I'm just here to join the crowd. You guys can go ahead." Indeed, he was tempted by the Pure Jade manual. However, there were 5 people ranked above him and the situation was chaotic. He did not want to get involved for the time being. Only, the positions of the 6 of them were rather particular and formed a semi-encirclement formation, sealing all of Su Zimo's escape routes. Although Yu Hai expressed that he would not interfere, his position still blocked one of Su Zimo's escape routes. If Su Zimo chose to escape in his direction, it would be sending himself to his door and Yu Hai could only accept it with a smile. In the eyes of the 6 of them, Su Zimo was already a bird in a cage. Song Su spoke, "The Pure Jade manual is with this person. However, I think we should kill him first before deciding who it should bellow." Before Song Su could finish, his expression changed. Su Zimo's figure had already vanished from the spot. A chilling killing intent enveloped him instantly. When Su Zimo reappeared, he was already behind Song Su. Without hesitation, he reached out and slapped Song Su on the head. Song Su was from the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom and the 2 of them were irreconcilable to begin with. He had no intention of letting Song Su off since the latter wanted to kill him. That move had indeed exceeded everyone's expectations. Nobody expected Su Zimo to not escape right away despite being surrounded by the 6 of them and even dare to attack them first. Chapter 25:02 1 against 5. 25:02 1 against 5. Although he was unprepared, Song Su's reaction was extremely fast after countless life and death experiences. He did not turn around since it would be too late. Su Zimo's attacks were ferocious and extremely fast. At this level, any mistake could cause one to be severely injured. Song Su's back was facing Su Zimo. In a flash, he executed the execution steps and a saber appeared beneath his feet. The execution steps was not only a movement technique, but also a means of retaliation. Under the attacks of Su Zimo's Great Chaos Essence Palm, many sabers tore a gap and Song Su passed through it, dodging to the side. That reaction had indeed displayed Song Su's immense strength. None of the experts who could be on the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction were easy to deal with. It was especially so for someone like Song Su. To be able to establish himself as the number one of the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom's execution guards, he had stepped on countless corpses of his peers and was stained with blood. Song Su's counterattack did not stop. After dodging Su Zimo's Great Chaos Essence Palm, Song Su suddenly opened his mouth and released an ear-piercing sound domain secret skill that sounded like metal clashing. As he used his sound domain secret skill to counterattack, Song Su withdrew his execution saber and slashed towards Su Zimo, who was behind him. At the same time, Zhong Feiyu, Lai Xian, Xie Tianhuang and Heaven Immortal Luo Yang were prepared to attack. If Su Zimo was killed by Song Su alone, they would have no reason to snatch the Pure Jade Manual and split the other treasures on Su Zimo. Everyone wanted a share of the loot. Roar. The moment Song Su released his sound domain secret skill, Su Zimo released his Dragon Roar secret skill as well, and a deafening roar sounded from the depths of his throat. The Dragon Roar secret skill was synthesized with many sound domain secret skills and was created with the Azure Dragon Roar as the foundation. Even the malevolent blood chi of this place could not suppress it. The Dragon Roar sounded and suppressed Song Su's sound domain secret skill instantly. When Zhong Feiyu and the other three sensed the terrifying power contained in the Dragon Roar secret skill, their expressions changed slightly and they did not dare to be careless. Although Xie Tianhuang knew a heavenly phoenix roar as well, he was suppressed by the malevolent blood chi of the Asura battlefield and could not release it. He could only retreat and temporarily escape the range of the Dragon Roar secret skill. As for Zhong Feiyu, Lai Xian and Heaven Immortal Luo Yang, none of them retreated. They released their sound domain secret skills and counterattacked. Up till this point of his cultivation of the Dragon Roar secret skill, Su Zimo had almost always been successful in fights against his peers. At close range, cultivators with weak bodies would be shocked to death on the spot. Even if one's physique and bloodline were extraordinary, they would suffer a huge blow and be distracted, allowing him to seize the initiative and control the situation. But now that he was on the Asura battlefield and could not release the six-tusked divine strength, Su Zimo's strength was far from its peak. The power of the Dragon Roar secret skill decreased significantly as well. Furthermore, Song Su specialized in melee combat and had a strong physique and bloodline. Coupled with the support of Zhong Feiyu, Lai Xian and Heaven Immortal Luo Yang, the Dragon Roar secret skill was useless after it was released. The few sound domain secret skills clashed in midair and dissipated before long. These few people who were on the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction were more troublesome to deal with than he had imagined. Su Zimo's expression was unchanged. Suddenly his figure flashed and he vanished once more. Swoosh. Song Su's backhand slash came to nothing. Suddenly, beside him, Su Zimo appeared once more. He closed two fingers and formed a finger sword. His fingertip emitted a sharp aura as he tapped towards the back of Song Su's head. Clang. Song Su did not turn back. Twisting his body, the execution saber suddenly extended from beneath his ribs and arrived instantly, colliding with Su Zimo's finger sword with a crisp sound. Both of them shuddered slightly. At the same time, Su Zimo released 3 heads 6 arms. His 6 palms conjured hand seals repeatedly and channeled his spirit consciousness, releasing 4 supreme divine powers in the direction of Zhong Feiyu, Lai Xian and Heaven Immortal Luo Yang. Ground prison painting. Suddenly, a gigantic cage burst forth from beneath Zhong Feiyu's feet and engulfed him instantly. Fleeting moment. The supreme divine power descended instantly and slashed towards Lai Xian. Killing word art. A third supreme divine power burst forth and charged towards Heaven Immortal Luo Yang. Permitha Bridge. A golden bridge extended beneath Su Zimo's feet and tore through the air, charging towards Xie Tianhuang. The requirement of releasing 4 supreme divine powers in succession was extremely high for the essence spirit. If the essence spirit was not condensed enough, there was a high chance it would collapse on the spot. The moment Su Zimo attacked, it was 1 against 5. Although it was difficult for the 4 supreme divine powers to kill Zhong Feiyu and the other 3, they could delay them for a moment. That split moment he gained allowed him a one-on-one fight with Song Su. It was clear that Song Su realized this as well. How dare you? He was fearless and his gaze intensified. Steadying himself, he conjured hand seals with his left hand and channeled his essence spirit, releasing a supreme divine power. Dismemberment. The Great Jin Immortal Kingdom had 10 great divine powers for execution. Every single one of them was extremely powerful and vicious. Typically, only cultivators with the bloodline of the royal family or who had contributed immensely to the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom could cultivate them. Dismemberment was one of them. The fact that Song Su was able to cultivate this divine power was proof that his status in the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom was indeed not low. The divine power circled around Su Zimo endlessly. The reason why that supreme divine power was powerful was because not only did it contain killing power, it also contained the power of restraint. Instantly, shackles appeared on Su Zimo's neck, wrist and ankle, locking him tightly. At the same time, the shackles were connected to 5 thick chains. The other end of the chains wrapped around 5 divine steeds and exerted strength at the same time, sprinting in 5 directions. Su Zimo narrowed his eyes slightly. Indeed, a tearing sensation came from the joints of the green lotus true body's limbs. Although it was not strong, it still made his heart skip a beat. Song Su did not pause after releasing dismemberment. He raised his saber and advanced, slashing down at Su Zimo's head. Swoosh! A sinister and cold saber intent enveloped down. It was as though Su Zimo was in a torture hell. Countless little ghosts lingered around him, holding various torture devices in their hands. They were laughing sinisterly at him, prepared to punish him at any moment. Rank 5 on the heaven ranking prediction, Song Su counterattacked with such ferocity. Suddenly, a resplendent starry sky appeared above Su Zimo's head. Millions of starlight fell and surged into his body, causing his strength to increase exponentially. The mystic spirit Big Dipper diagram descended and broke through Song Su's execution saber intent instantly. At the same time, Su Zimo made use of the power of the stars to break free from the restraints of dismemberment. In a flash, he made use of the True Dragon 9 flashes and reappeared beside Song Su, seizing the initiative. Song Su was long prepared and slashed in reverse. This time round, after Su Zimo's figure appeared, he did not stop. In a flash, he disappeared and reappeared on the other side of Song Su. In the blink of an eye, Su Zimo changed 4 positions in succession. Song Su could not handle it and could not determine Su Zimo's landing spot. Because of that, Su Zimo finally found an opening. Chapter 2503 Dragon Snake Joint Attack. 2503 Dragon Snake Joint Attack. Su Zimo conjured sword arts with both hands and his gaze was cold. A chilling killing intent burst forth from him and surged into the clouds. When the heaven's killing intent is released, the stars are shifted out of alignment. When the earth's killing intent is released, the dragon snake shall rise. Heaven slaying in his left hand and earth slaying in his right. Su Zimo wielded 2 sword arts and was prepared to kill Song Su on the spot. That killing intent was way too strong. As the number 1 heaven execution guard, Song Su was in charge of punishment and killing. He carried a steely killing intent and could not withstand it. Millions of heaven-slaying sword chi formed a heaven-slaying sword in Su Zimo's left hand and slashed down. At the same time the skies changed and the ground shook. Above Song Su's head, a divine dragon condensed from the earth-slaying sword chi appeared faintly. Behind him, a soaring serpent broke out of the ground. The dragon and snake attacked together, forming a heaven and earth-killing combination. The earth-slaying sword chi was the epitome of killing. The malevolent blood chi in the surroundings contained an extreme killing intent as well. The two were extremely similar and therefore the earth-slaying sword chi was not suppressed much. That was the reason why Su Zimo was able to condense the dragon snake sword chi. Song Su's expression changed a few times as a storm brewed in his heart. He was actually forced to such a state in their fight. He naturally knew that as long as he could withstand Su Zimo's attack, he could avoid danger. On the other side, Zhong Feiyu and the others were about to break free as well. However, it was difficult for him to guarantee that he could escape unscathed against the combined attacks of the heaven and earth-slaying sword arts. Splash! In the face of this crisis, Song Su channeled his bloodline to its limits and the sound of a tsunami surged in his body. A gigantic execution saber appeared behind him. Bloodline phenomenon. The execution saber slashed towards the heaven-slaying sword in Su Zimo's left hand. Boom! The saber and sword collided with a deafening bang. Song Su's bloodline phenomenon shook violently and almost collapsed. As for the heaven-slaying sword, it was shattered into pieces, turning into streams of essence chi that scattered into the void. At the same time, the combined attack of the dragon snake descended. Song Su ignored the soaring serpent that burst out from the ground beneath his feet and slashed in reverse towards the divine dragon in midair. Clang! The saber stood on the divine dragon's head and both parties shuddered, stopping as though time and space had frozen. Immediately after, countless dragon scales fell off from the divine dragon's body and the divine dragon of the earth-slaying sword chi dissipated on the spot. At that moment, Song Su no longer had the time to defend against the sword chi soaring serpent behind him. He could only release his essence chi and surge it into the execution armor on his body, creating patterns. The soaring serpent struck his back heavily. Song Su shuddered as though he was struck by lightning and spat out an arrow of blood. The light of the execution armor he was wearing dimmed rapidly. Although the execution armor was reduced to scrap metal, it helped him defend against most of the damage from the earth-slaying sword chi. He could recover from his current injuries within a few breaths. Although a gigantic spear pierced Su Zimo's head, no blood appeared. That head was one of the heads condensed from 3 heads 6 arms. Even if it shattered, it would not affect him much. Yu Hai, who had been watching from the side, finally attacked. His timing was rather particular. When Song Su was in danger, he did not help Song Su resolve the crisis or block the damage. After all, for him, even if Song Su was killed by Su Zimo, it would be equivalent to one less competitor. Yu Hai attacked and charged towards Su Zimo. At that time, Su Zimo wielded the heaven and earth-slaying sword chi. Although he sensed Yu Hai's activity, he had no time to be distracted and ignored it. He wanted to deal with Yu Hai after killing Song Su. To think that Song Su had many trump cards as well and could survive the combined attack of his heaven and earth-slaying sword chi. What a pity. Su Zimo lamented internally. If he could release the 6-tusk divine strength or cultivate to become a grade 7 heaven immortal, his combat strength would double or even more. Naturally, the situation earlier on would have been different. Boom. On the other side, Zhong Feiyu broke through the divine power of ground prison painting and sped over. Heaven Immortal Luo Yang and Xie Tianhuang charged over at almost the same time. The killing word art and Prometha Bridge alone posed no threat to the two of them, although they were supreme divine powers. The only one who encountered trouble was Lai Xian. The fleeting moment was released. The experience he gained from countless life and death battles reminded him that this supreme divine power was extremely dangerous. Lai Xian did not dare to be careless and released 2 supreme divine powers in succession. However, the sense of danger did not dissipate. Instead, it intensified. On the battlefield, amidst the earth-shaking clash, he could even keenly capture a strange sound of drums beating. This is bad. Suddenly, Lai Xian recalled the evaluation of Su Zimo on the heaven ranking prediction. It had once said that Su Zimo specialized in a supreme divine power that reduced one's lifespan and was extremely powerful. Lai Xian did not have time to think and channeled his bloodline to its limits, releasing his bloodline phenomenon. Behind him, blazing suns appeared above his surging blood chi, emitting a bedazzling glow and spewing scorching flames. In the blink of an eye, 7 blazing suns appeared. The sense of danger still did not dissipate. A decisive look flashed through the eyes of the flames as he raised his bloodline once more. Phew. Within the bloodline phenomenon, 2 more blazing suns appeared after the 7 blazing suns. 9 blazing suns descended and illuminated the world. Rising 9 suns. The top cultivation technique of the Yin-Yang Immortal Kingdom, the Great Sun Sutra, was something that only the royal family could cultivate. Legend has it that rising 9 suns was the peak of the cultivation of the Great Sun Sutra. Prior to this, when Lai Xian fought with others, he had only summoned 8 blazing suns at most. But now, Su Zimo's casual divine power had almost forced out his strongest trump card. The sense of danger in his heart finally dissipated after he released rising 9 suns. Before the divine power of fleeting moment could descend on Lai Xian, it was burned into essence chi by the 9 blazing suns behind him and dissipated into the world. Lai Xian stood on the spot, his breathing erratic and a sense of trepidation. If not for his swift reaction, he did not know what terrifying consequences would have happened. Lai Xian composed himself slowly and did not rush forward to kill Su Zimo right away. This guy is only ranked 24 on the heaven ranking prediction given his combat strength? What kind of a joke is that? Suddenly Lai Xian was enraged. Such methods could even be ranked in the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction. At the same time Lai Xian thought again. Right now, Su Zimo was only a grade 6 heaven immortal. If he could already release such methods, what would happen if he cultivated to become a grade 9 heaven immortal? It's time for you to die. Zhong Feiyu was the first to arrive. Before he even made a move, a sword beam had already appeared. It disappeared in a flash. Su Zimo did not have time to react and merely dodged instinctively with his spirit perception. One of Su Zimo's heads was pierced as well as 2 arms. At this point of the battle, his 3 heads 6 arms was almost completely useless. The secret skills of Xie Tianhuang and heaven immortal Luo Yang descended. Yu Hai and Song Se gathered momentum while Lai Xian walked over with rising 9 suns. The 6 experts were regrouped. Chapter 2504 Entering the Lake. 2504 Entering the Lake. Above the ancient city. The intense battle below was naturally witnessed by the 6 perfected immortals of Divine Firmament Palace. Although the process was short, the eyes of the 6 perfected immortals lit up. The 6 perfected immortals had long understood the methods and combat strength of Zhong Feiyu and the others. There were also detailed introductions of them on the heaven ranking prediction. However, the 6 perfected immortals did not know much about Su Zimo. That was because Su Zimo's battle records were too few and he only had 2 battles. There was no way they could make an overly precise evaluation. However, the scene earlier on caused the 6 perfected immortals to have no choice but to re-evaluate Su Zimo's ranking on the heaven ranking prediction. Divine Rainbow praised, right from the beginning he fought 1 against 5. Instead of being defeated, he counterattacked and even injured Song Su. His combat strength and control of the situation is a little terrifying. A single supreme divine power of his managed to force out Lai Xian's bloodline phenomenon, rising 9 suns. I'm truly shocked. Even now, Divine Swamp could not believe it. Unfortunately, that lad's cultivation realm is a little low. He still has too many weaknesses in a life and death battle. Divine Flames revealed a look of pity. Although he did not say it explicitly, the other few perfected immortals understood. If one's cultivation realm was low, they would suffer obvious disadvantages in head-on clashes. Their essence spirits were not strong enough and the consumption of essence chi would take a heavy toll. In the battle earlier on, Su Zimo injured Song Su. However, those injuries had almost no effect on Song Su. To them, if the fight continued, Song Su would still end up victorious. Fairy Divine Crane suddenly spoke, "Even so, I think that lad's ranking is enough to be in the top 10. That's for sure." Divine Wind nodded. The others had no objections to this ranking. Even if Su Zimo tore the teleportation talisman and left the Asura battlefield, the combat strength he displayed earlier on was enough for him to be ranked in the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction. Divine Rainbow took out the heaven ranking prediction and spread it slowly, raising Su Zimo's ranking from 24 to 10. Prince Tianhuang, who was initially ranked 10, was pushed to 11. Who shall write his evaluation? Divine Rainbow asked. Let Divine Crane do it. I can tell she thinks highly of Su Zimo. Divine Wind said with a smile. All right. Fairy Divine Crane did not decline. She took a step forward and condensed true essence with her fingertips. Using her finger as a brush, she prepared to write her latest evaluation of Su Zimo on the heaven ranking prediction. The higher one was on the heaven ranking prediction, the harder it would be for them to advance the rankings. For someone like Su Zimo, who was already ranked 24 originally, there had to be a convincing reason for him to rise more than 10 spots all of a sudden. Hold on. Just as Fairy Divine Crane was about to write, the other few perfected immortals suddenly spoke and stopped her. When Fairy Divine Crane saw them frowning and looking at the ancient city below with grim expressions, she looked over instinctively as well. In the center of the ancient city, the 6 experts on the heaven ranking prediction reconvened and no longer underestimated Su Zimo. The pressure on him increased exponentially. The 6 of them were much more troublesome to deal with than he had imagined. All of them were ruthless. Song Su was closed in by Su Zimo and received killing moves in succession. If it was any other cultivator, they would have died a long time ago. For Song Su, he merely spat out a mouthful of blood and his injuries healed in the blink of an eye. Of course, if Su Zimo continued targeting Song Su, given his capabilities, he was still 70% confident that he could kill the latter on the spot. However, that was almost his limit. After he killed Song Su, he would no longer have the strength to continue dealing with the other 5 and could only flee far away. Su Zimo was already prepared to explore the bottom of the lake behind him. If he killed Song Su and entered the bottom of the lake, Prince Mingjiong would definitely vent his anger on Xie Qingqing and eliminate him in advance. At that time, even if he could discover the secret at the bottom of the lake and return alive, he would not have the chance to help Xie Qingqing snatch the spirit cloud seal. At that thought, Su Zimo made up his mind. Against the attacks of Zhong Feiyu, Heaven Immortal Luo Yang and Xie Tianhuang, he conjured the immovable Mingwang seal and assumed a defensive stance. Boom. Boom. The supreme divine powers of Heaven Immortal Luo Yang and Xie Tianhuang descended and struck Su Zimo. The immovable Mingwang seal could not defend against them. Su Zimo could not control his body and staggered in retreat. Zhong Feiyu's sword appeared once more. But this time round, Su Zimo grabbed the sword that was as thin as cicada wings barehanded with his powerful spirit perception. He felt a sharp pain in his palm and fresh blood flowed. What a great sword! Su Zimo praised. That praise came from the bottom of his heart. The Green Lotus true body had cultivated to grade 11 and cultivated powerful body tempering secret skills such as the Jade Pure Jade Manual, Divine Elephant Breathing Technique and Void Thunder Manual. His flesh had long been indestructible and was even superior to Khanate Heaven-grade dermic treasures. But now, Zhong Feiyu's thin sword could cut through his palm. Of course, Su Zimo gripped the sword tightly. The tip of the sword was sharp and was less than a millimeter away from his glabella. However, Zhong Feiyu's attack could not continue no matter what. Zhong Feiyu channeled his blood qi and exerted strength once more. He held back and did not release his bloodline phenomenon. He merely channeled his blood qi to the level of tsunami blood and stabbed with his sword. As though he could not defend against that power, Su Zimo could only release his grip and retreat once more to avoid the sharpness of Zhong Feiyu's thin sword. Stop chasing. Song Su and the others suddenly reminded loudly when they saw that. As though he realized something, Zhong Feiyu stopped in his tracks hurriedly. However, Su Zimo's figure was already above the lake. On the lake, the endless malevolent blood qi seemed to have been agitated and gathered rapidly, turning into vines that coiled around Su Zimo. Right in front of Zhong Feiyu and the others, the malevolent blood qi pulled Su Zimo into the lake and he disappeared before long. Su Zimo did not even have time to release the teleportation talisman. Cheers? Heaven Immortal Luo Yang cursed. Song Su's expression was dark and indignant as well. Su Zimo was devoured by the malevolent blood qi and fell into the lake. He would definitely die. However, they would not have the chance to obtain treasures such as the Jade Pure Jade Manual in his possession. A hint of joy flashed through Prince Tianhuang's eyes. Landing in the lake was equivalent to falling into the hands of the Yen-Yang Immortal Kingdom. At that time, if he could obtain the Spirit Cloud Seal, his father might be delighted and allow him to cultivate this Jade Pure Jade Manual. Zhong Feiyu, weren't you way too anxious? Song Su said coldly, he has used all his trump cards and is trapped by us. There's no way he can escape. Why did you send him into the lake? Naturally, Zhong Feiyu did not wish to either. Up till now, he still could not understand how Su Zimo, who was so ferocious earlier on, suddenly became so careless and retreated to the top of the lake only to be devoured by it. Although that was what he thought, as a reincarnated perfected immortal with a rank that was even higher than Song Su, Zhong Feiyu was naturally unwilling to show weakness verbally. You want the Jade Pure Jade Manual? Zhong Feiyu smirked with a mocking expression and pointed to the lake behind him. It's inside. If you want it, go in and get it yourself. You. Song Su narrowed his eyes with a cold glint. Don't worry, I can guarantee that the Jade Pure Jade Manual will definitely be intact and not destroyed by the malevolent blood qi. Zhong Feiyu sneered once more before turning to leave. Initially, with Su Zimo around, they had a common goal and could maintain peace on the surface. Chapter 2505 White Tiger Malevolent Blood. 2505 White Tiger Malevolent Blood. Above the ancient city. When the 6 perfected immortals of Divine Firmament Palace saw that, they had conflicted expressions and revealed looks of pity. What a pity. That lad is still too young and lacks combat experience. He ignored his surroundings and suffered such a calamity. Sigh. Divine Rainbow sighed. Divine Cloud said, If he could tear the teleportation talisman in time, he could have escaped. Unfortunately. To think that such a genius would die in the Asura battlefield. Isn't that a pity? Geniuses who die prematurely are not considered geniuses. Throughout history there have been countless paragons who died prematurely. Who can remember them? As the five of them discussed, Fairy Divine Crane frowned slightly and remained silent, as though she had not snapped out of her stupor. The ranking of the heaven ranking prediction will probably have to be modified again. Divine Rainbow smiled bitterly. Though, Su Zimo has indeed created a record. The moment he entered the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction, he died and was removed. Once cultivators on the heaven ranking prediction were dead, their names were naturally removed. The heaven ranking prediction was in the hands of Fairy Divine Crane and she had yet to start writing the evaluation of Su Zimo as rank 10. When Divine Rainbow saw that Fairy Divine Crane did not move for a long time, he could only go forward and retrieve the heaven ranking prediction in her hands so that he could remove all information and traces of Su Zimo, who was rank 10. Something's not right. Fairy Divine Crane shook her head. What's wrong? Divine Flame said, Divine Crane, I know that you think highly of this lad. However, he's already dead and naturally can't occupy a spot on the heaven ranking prediction. Fairy Divine Crane said deeply, I'm not referring to that. I'm referring to the fact that he just fell into the lake. Although it seemed like he was forced down by Zhong Feiyu, don't you guys feel that it was a little abrupt? Divine Rainbow and the others exchanged glances without saying anything. Actually, after Su Zimo fell into the lake, everyone's first reaction was indeed surprise and disbelief. Fairy Divine Crane continued, when he fought against the 6 heaven immortals earlier on, his control of the situation, reaction on the spot and methods against the enemy could be said to be perfect. It shows that this lad is extremely talented in combat. How did he suddenly lose? Furthermore, he made such a low-level mistake and did not even tear the teleportation talisman when he had nowhere to retreat? Divine Wind deduced, perhaps he was hoping for a fluke? That lad was indignant and did not want to leave just like that. That was why he did not tear the teleportation talisman apart. By the time he realized how terrifying the lake beneath him was, it was already too late. Fairy Divine Crane shook her head gently in doubt. Divine Rainbow was puzzled and asked, Divine Crane, are you saying that this lad fell into the lake not because Zhong Feiyu forced him, but because he wanted to intentionally? Fairy Divine Crane was silent. Indeed, she had that thought in her mind even though it sounded ridiculous. Divine Swamp chuckled. Could that lad have taken things too hard and committed suicide instead? Divine Crane, the lake beneath is condensed from malevolent blood chi. Even if we fall in, we might not be able to survive. Divine Flame smiled helplessly. Whether it was intentional or not, he has already fallen into the lake and the outcome is death. Fairy Divine Crane did not reply and channeled her spirit consciousness, trying her best to probe into the lake. Even with her spirit consciousness, she could not reach the bottom of the lake. It was already her limit to detect the middle of the lake. Suddenly, in the middle of the lake, she sensed a life force fluctuation that was extremely similar to Su Zimo's aura. He's not dead yet. Fairy Divine Crane's words were shocking and her eyes lit up. The expressions of the other 5 perfected immortals changed slightly. Knowing that Fairy Divine Crane would not joke about this, they hurriedly released their spirit consciousnesses and probed into the lake. Indeed. They could also sense Su Zimo's life force fluctuation in the lake. Although it was fluctuating violently, it was clear that he was still alive. He was not dead. The eyes of the few perfected immortals were filled with disbelief. Even if he's not dead and is in the malevolent blood lake, how long can he last? Divine Swamp expressed his doubts about this matter. Divine Cloud said deeply, furthermore, even if he manages to crawl out alive, if his essence spirit or Tao heart were even slightly injured by the wild corrosion of the power of the malevolent blood, he'll be completely crippled. Fairy Divine Crane said, no matter what, as long as he's not dead, he shouldn't be removed from the heaven ranking prediction. Divine Rainbow said in a deep voice, what Divine Crane said makes sense. However, we don't know if he can recover his previous combat strength after this calamity. Furthermore, there's a high chance that he will be crippled. I suggest we reinstate him in the heaven ranking prediction. However, he can only be ranked last for the time being. Fairy Divine Crane nodded. She had no objections to this arrangement. A figure descended slowly from the lake. Fairy Divine Crane's guess was not wrong. Su Zimo's entry into the lake was naturally part of his calculations. After falling into the lake, the rich malevolent blood power in the lake was much more terrifying than he had imagined. The malevolent blood chi had already condensed into a lake. The level of that power was imaginable. An endless stream of malevolent blood power surged into Su Zimo's body through his pores, destroying all life. Even his consciousness was invaded by the power of the malevolent blood. Endless berserk and murderous emotions struck his Tao heart. However, his Tao heart was firm and unshakable, and he could still maintain his clarity. Hurriedly, he chanted the Prajna Nirvana Sutra and circulated the heavenly perfected water at the same time, forming a barrier around him. This secret skill imparted by the Black Tortoise Sacred Soul could unleash its greatest effect in the lake. Even so, the power of the malevolent blood in the lake surged over from all directions. The dermic Tao of the heavenly perfected water could not defend against it at all. Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat as he chanted the secret skill sutra passed down by the White Tiger's sacred soul hurriedly. Although he did not understand the meaning of the sutra, the pressure around him decreased with every silent chant. Indeed, prior to this he was only guessing. But now he was almost certain that the malevolent blood in the Asura battlefield had something to do with the sacred beast, White Tiger. This was the White Tiger malevolent blood. Su Zimo chanted the secret skill sutra repeatedly, and the attacks of the malevolent blood power on him gradually decreased. Initially, Su Zimo was only an outsider to the malevolent blood in the lake. That was the reason why he was attacked wildly. However, Su Zimo chanted the secret skill sutra from the White Tiger's sacred soul repeatedly, causing an aura similar to the White Tiger to appear on his body, fusing with the malevolent blood in the entire lake. Under normal circumstances, even if a perfected immortal was in the malevolent blood lake, he would not be able to withstand its corrosion. However, by some freak coincidence, Su Zimo had long cultivated a secret sutra inherited from the White Tiger's sacred soul, causing him to possess the aura of a white tiger. Naturally, the power of the malevolent blood in the surroundings would not be hostile towards anyone with the aura of the White Tiger. Su Zimo was relieved that the crisis was resolved. As he fell, he vaguely caught a strange connection from another direction at the bottom of the lake that resonated with the secret skill sutra he was chanting. Su Zimo followed that connection and sneaked towards the bottom of the lake. Chapter 2506 2506 White Tiger Bone 2506 White Tiger Bone. Heaven and Earth Academy, Square of the Inner Courtyard. Apart from some Academy cultivators, there were also 1,000 heaven immortals from the major sects and factions of the Divine Firmament Immortal Domain who wanted to challenge Su Zimo. Later on, when they heard that Su Zimo entered the Asura battlefield and the heaven ranking prediction would be updated in real time, none of them left. Firstly, they could watch the ranking of the heaven ranking prediction from here at any moment. Secondly, they could stop Su Zimo the moment he returned. The fight for the seal merely lasted for a month and everyone could afford to wait. Heaven and Earth Academy valued etiquette and naturally could not chase them away casually. Right now, Su Zimo was not in the academy and Yan Bingying was in charge of managing the inner sect. Furthermore, many disciples of the academy were extremely concerned about the outcome of the battle for the seal. They gathered here and the number of people in the square increased. Look, the ranking has changed. A shriek sounded from the crowd. Heavens! Senior Brother Su is in the top 10. It's only been 2 days since the battle for the seal and Senior Brother Su rose more than 10 spots. He's way too terrifying. Senior Brother Su must have fought a tough battle. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to raise his ranking so much and enter the top 10. Many disciples of the academy discussed excitedly. Yan Bingying smiled and was delighted. During this period of time, Heaven and Earth Academy was provoked by these foreign cultivators who wanted to challenge him. Because Su Zimo avoided battling them, he attracted many sarcastic remarks. Now that Su Zimo's ranking had suddenly soared and he was directly in the top 10, the disciples of the academy felt proud. The foreign cultivators had ugly expressions when they saw the ranking. Initially, they thought that Su Zimo's ranking was exaggerated and that was the reason why they dared to knock on his door to challenge him. To think that Su Zimo would be ranked in the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction the moment the battle for the seal began. There were 6 perfected immortals of Divine Firmament Palace personally presiding over the battlefield to record the evaluation. There was naturally no mistake. Why aren't you guys saying anything? A disciple of the academy sneered, "Where's your previous arrogance?" Senior brother Su avoided battling you guys because he couldn't be bothered. Do you guys really think that highly of yourselves? Humans have to know their limits. If you want to challenge senior brother Su, you have to reach his level first. Against the mockery of disciples of the Academy, the Grade 9 Heaven Immortals of Flying Immortal Sect, Great Jin Immortal Kingdom, Zishen Immortal Kingdom and other Heaven Grade factions had awkward expressions. Tianzhi of Flying Immortal Sect smiled embarrassedly and said indifferently, "Fellow Taoist Su is capable indeed. I'm impressed." "Everyone, aren't you leaving?" Yan Bingying retracted her smile and asked calmly. That ranking was like a slap to the faces of the foreign cultivators. Many people looked ashamed and could not stay any longer, prepared to leave. Ling Mu of the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom continued to force himself and said stubbornly, "It won't be too late to leave after reading the evaluation given by Divine Firmament Palace." Right then the expression of Fairy Bai Hua of the Zishen Immortal Kingdom changed. She pointed at the gigantic heaven ranking prediction in the square and shouted, "Look, Su Zimo's ranking has vanished." Everyone turned to look at the heaven ranking prediction. Indeed. His name that was initially ranked 10 was replaced by Prince Tianhuang once more. Everyone searched the heaven ranking prediction carefully but could not find Su Zimo. Any trace of information about Su Zimo vanished completely, as though he had never been on the heaven ranking prediction. How did this happen? What happened? Disciples of the Academy discussed softly. Ha 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 ha. Ling Mu of the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom suddenly burst into laughter. To think that Su Zimo would die in the Asura battlefield. What did you say? A disciple of the Academy frowned and questioned. Senior brother Su's combat strength is in the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction. How can he die so easily? You still don't believe me? Ling Mu sneered. If he wasn't dead, how could he have been removed from the heaven ranking prediction with all traces of information erased? Tianzhi of Flying Immortal Sect nodded slightly as well. That's right. As long as Su Zimo is alive, even if he loses in the Asura battlefield, his ranking will only decrease slowly. There's only a single possibility for him to disappear directly, he's already dead. Yan Bingying's face was slightly pale. Although she was unwilling to believe it, she knew that what Ling Mu and Tianzhi said was most likely true. He. Fairy Bai Hua of the Zishen Immortal Kingdom covered her mouth and laughed. What a joke. This senior brother Su of yours is indeed like an embroidered pillow. He's good-looking but useless. He was in the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction just moments earlier. How did he? There were still many Academy disciples who were unwilling to believe it. Naturally, something must have gone wrong. Tianzhi smiled gently. Earlier on, there was no reason given for why Su Zimo was in the top 10. It was clearly a mistake. Let's go. To think that Su Zimo of your Academy would be so weak. He only stayed in the Asura battlefield for 2 days and died inside. Earlier on, the disciples of the Academy mocked them. Now that these foreign cultivators had the chance, they naturally seized the opportunity and were relentless with their sarcastic remarks. Fellow Taoist Yen, we've really got to leave this time round. Tianzhi cupped his fists. Su Zimo of the Academy is already dead. There's no point in us staying here. Goodbye. Yan Bingying spat out with a cold expression. Hey look, senior brother Su has appeared on the heaven ranking prediction again. Another exclamation sounded from the crowd. Everyone turned around hurriedly. Where? Right at the back. Why is he ranked last on the heaven ranking prediction? No matter what, he's still on the heaven ranking prediction. At the very least, it proves that he's not dead. Everyone from the Academy felt relieved. He's not dead. Tianzhi, Ling Mu and the others frowned. Fairy Bai Hua sneered, even if he's not dead, it proves that we're right. Su Zimo of the Academy is truly pathetic. At most, he can only be ranked last on the heaven ranking prediction. Why aren't you guys leaving yet? Yan Bingying urged impatiently. Of course we're not leaving. Ling Mu raised his head slightly. We'll wait here and see what ranking Su Zimo can eventually reach. If he can even return alive, we've still got to challenge him. Heaven and Earth Academy was not the only one. The major sects and factions of the Divine Firmament Immortal Domain were also paying attention to the fight for the seal and watching the real-time updates of the heaven ranking prediction. Su Zimo's wild fluctuations on the heaven ranking prediction caused quite a stir and countless guesses. However, even the 6 perfected immortals of Divine Firmament Palace did not know the exact situation of Su Zimo at the bottom of the lake, and they did not make a move rashly. Therefore, there were no updates to Su Zimo's information on the heaven ranking prediction. Those who were concerned had already headed to the Yen-Yang Immortal Kingdom to investigate. At that moment, in the depths of the Asura battlefield, Su Zimo sensed with his heart and finally arrived at his destination. Half of a bone was exposed in the mud at the bottom of the lake. Su Zimo's eyes lit up. The origin of the malevolent blood came from that half of the bone. It was the bone of the white tiger. Chapter 2507 White Tiger Corpse Collection. 2507 White Tiger Corpse Collection. Su Zimo took a step forward and pulled out the white bone. The edge of the white bone was rough and jagged. It should only be a fragment of the white tiger's bone. Even so, when the white bone fragment was revealed, it was still taller than his body and had a suffocating ferocity. It was unimaginable how massive the white tiger that grew such bones was at its peak and how ferocious it was. The white bone fragment was left behind on the Asura battlefield. After countless years, the malevolent blood in the white bone had yet to dissipate, forming such a lake. Su Zimo reached out and caressed the surface of the white bone gently. Everywhere his fingertip passed, he could sense slight bumps on the surface of the white bone. Su Zimo took a step forward and focused his gaze. Mysterious patterns were etched on the surface of the white bone, resembling mysterious runes. It was like a work of the gods created by nature. Su Zimo channeled his essence chi and it surged into the white bone. The runes on the surface of the white bone suddenly shone. Immediately after, the runes fell off and surged into Su Zimo's glabella instantly. Su Zimo's essence spirit hurt. Immediately after, some strange information appeared in his memories. Initially, the secret skill sutra imparted by the white tiger's sacred soul was difficult to understand. But now that he saw that secret skill again, Su Zimo felt enlightened. Su Zimo was delighted and chose to sit on the ground to cultivate the secret skill. The 4th secret skill on the tripod Hell Suppression tripod was White Tiger Corpse Collection. It was also the only unparalleled killing move among the 4 secret skills. Among the 4 sacred beasts, White Tiger was located in the west and specialized in killing. The name of that secret skill alone exuded a shuddering killing intent. According to the secret skill, one would have to condense their own malevolent chi continuously if they wanted to cultivate White Tiger Corpse Collection. The heavier the malevolent chi, the stronger the power of the secret skill. If the malevolent chi could materialize and reach the level of the White Tiger sacred beast, it would be akin to the White Tiger descending upon the world personally. It was an extreme killing power. This lake was the best place to cultivate the secret skill. Without hesitation, Su Zimo circulated his secret skill and chanted the sutra internally, attracting the surrounding malevolent blood into his body. The moment the malevolent blood surged into his body, Su Zimo's expression changed starkly as he spat out a mouthful of blood and choked on water at the same time. The malevolent blood chi in the lake had already materialized into lake water. Even perfected immortals would not be able to withstand it and would have to retreat right away. As for Su Zimo, he absorbed the malevolent blood chi into his body and naturally caused immense damage to the Green Lotus true body. Thankfully, he cultivated the legacy secret skill of the White Tiger sacred beast and had a certain degree of resistance towards the surrounding White Tiger malevolent blood. Su Zimo's body was washed away by the White Tiger malevolent blood and the surface of his muscles shattered, revealing streaks of blood. Even the mouthful of lake water that he choked on earlier on turned into terrifying White Tiger malevolent blood that surged into his organs and exploded. The powerful regeneration capabilities of the Green Lotus true body circulated wildly and healed his injuries internally and externally. Not only that, as though he sensed danger, the Green Lotus true body's bloodline circulated on its own and began to devour the White Tiger malevolent blood. The change in his body surprised Su Zimo. There was only one creation Green Lotus in the entire world and it had a powerful bloodline. However, it was a type of flora after all. Even the dragon phoenix had to bow down in the face of the White Tiger sacred beast. Initially, Su Zimo thought that the bloodline of the creation Green Lotus would be suppressed as well. However, from the looks of it, the Green Lotus true body did not seem to be wary at all. After being invaded by the White Tiger malevolent blood, he began to retaliate rapidly. Every single wisp of the white tiger malevolent blood contained a tremendous amount of power. After all, that power originated from the white tiger bone. As for the bloodline of the green lotus true body, after devouring the white tiger malevolent blood and refining it, his strength rose rapidly as well. Su Zimo's intention was to cultivate the fourth secret skill. But now, while cultivating the secret skill, the green lotus true body had also received a tremendous amount of energy and was growing at an unimaginable speed. Of course, this process was a form of torment for Su Zimo. The green lotus true body was being torn apart and repaired continuously. With each repair, the green lotus true body would become even stronger and devour the white tiger malevolent blood at an even faster speed. Initially, the green lotus true body could not refine too much white tiger malevolent blood and could only devour a few wisps. As time passed by, the green lotus true body became even stronger and could devour dozens or even thousands of wisps of white tiger malevolent blood. The stimulation of the white tiger malevolent blood on the green lotus true body had triggered the green lotus bloodline completely instead. When he sensed the change in the green lotus true body, Su Zimo was delighted as he endured the pain. Under normal circumstances, if he wanted to raise his cultivation realm, the green lotus true body would have to absorb a large number of resources. Even if he had enough essence spirit stones to replenish his energy, it would take him at least 1,000 years to cultivate to become a grade 7 heaven immortal. But now, the power of the white tiger malevolent blood had replaced the essence spirit stones. In fact, it was far more effective than absorbing essence spirit stones. According to this cultivation speed, the green lotus true body might even advance another level within a month and break through to become a grade 7 heaven immortal. From a certain perspective, the green lotus true body was not refining the white tiger malevolent blood, but the white tiger bone. For Su Zimo, this opportunity was a blessing that came knocking on his door. This further verified the truth that one could not bury their heads in seclusion after cultivating to the heaven immortal realm. They had to head out often to train before they could obtain opportunities. After entering the heaven essence realm, Su Zimo's cultivation speed was even faster than when he was at the earth immortal realm. It was because of the tremendous opportunities he obtained after heading out for a few expeditions. Naturally, no one knew about his situation at the bottom of the lake. Even the 6 perfected immortals of Divine Firmament Palace who were in the Asura battlefield could not detect the bottom of the lake. The 6 of them could only vaguely sense the life force fluctuation coming from the bottom of the lake, proving that Su Zimo was still alive and knew nothing else. In a courtyard in the ancient city, Xie Qingqing and the others rested there. Because of Su Zimo's reminder, no one left. However, after 3 days, there was still no news of Su Zimo and everyone else began to discuss in secret. Although Xie Qingqing looked calm on the surface, he was worried internally. They had the heaven ranking prediction with them as well, but it was not updated in real time. Therefore, they did not know what changes had happened to the ranking of the heaven ranking prediction. This day, Xie Qingqing felt increasingly uneasy. He gathered heaven immortal Yuing and the others. Brother Su hasn't returned for 5 days. Let's split into 4 groups and head out to look for him. Regardless of whether there are any clues, gather here a day later. Heaven immortal Yuing frowned and said grumblingly, Prince, this ancient city is way too big. It's filled with the fog of the malevolent blood everywhere. Trying to find someone is like searching for a needle in a haystack. How is that possible? That's right. What if he has already left the city? It's also possible that he might have already left the Asura battlefield. Xie Qingqing waved his hand and interrupted everyone, saying in a deep voice, even if it's impossible, we have to go out and search. Don't forget, we only arrived here safely because Brother Su brought us along. Haha. Right then, a laugh sounded from outside the residence. Brother Qingqing, you don't have to look anymore. I can tell you where Su Zimo is. Chapter 2508 Choice of Nest. 2508 Choice of Nest. Outside the residence, dozens of heaven immortals entered. Xie Yan? Xie Qingqing frowned slightly. The leader of the group of cultivators was Prince Yan, who was highly regarded by the Yenyang immortal king. Behind him was the reincarnated perfected immortal, Lai Xian, who was rank 4 on the heaven ranking prediction. You know where Brother Su is? Xie Qingqing asked in a deep voice. Of course. A gloating expression flashed through Prince Yan's face as he smiled. Your brother Su was forced into the malevolent blood lake by Zhong Feiyu and is already dead. Ah. Heaven Immortal Yu Ying and the others were shocked and exclaimed softly. Instinctively, Xie Qingqing clenched his fists as well and grit his teeth. That's impossible. Brother Su has a teleportation talisman. Even if he can't win, he would have left the Asura battlefield. What's impossible? Prince Yen sneered. Zhong Feiyu attacked personally. Su Zimo is only ranked 24 on the heaven ranking prediction. Do you think he can get a chance to escape? Furthermore, Brother Lai witnessed it personally. Lai Xian raised his eyes and looked at Prince Yen in front of him in silence, as though he was silently acknowledging this. Although Prince Yen was not present, he had already recounted the situation to the latter. It was impossible for Zhong Feiyu alone to force Su Zimo into the malevolent blood lake. Although Prince Yen knew that, he said that intentionally because he wanted to divert attention and cause trouble for Princess Yu Yen and Zhong Feiyu. Lai Xian could read Prince Yan's mind, but he could not expose the latter. However, he was unwilling to lie. That was why he remained silent. Brother Su is dead. Xie Qingqing's eyes reddened as he shook his head gently in disbelief. Heaven Immortal Yu Ying sighed gently. As a reincarnated perfected immortal, Zhong Feiyu is rank 3 on the heaven ranking prediction. If he were to attack, Su Zimo would indeed not stand a chance. Another person said, Su Zimo has a deep feud with Zither Immortal Meng Yao and Zhong Feiyu is from the same sect as her. It makes sense for him to attack Su Zimo. Prince Yen raised his head slightly. Qingqing, I'm here this time round to give you a chance. What do you mean? Xie Qingqing frowned. Prince Yen said, your subordinate, Su Zimo, has already been killed by Zhong Feiyu. If you want to take revenge for him, you can only join forces with me. After all, I have Brother Lai's help and can fight against Zhong Feiyu. Of course, Qingqing, you don't have to fight for the seal anymore. If you help me get my hands on the Spirit Cloud seal, you'll also be a part of my subordinates in the future. Xie Qingqing was so angry that he laughed instead. He was long disgusted by the gloating look on Prince Yan's face when the latter mentioned that Su Zimo was dead. Now, Prince Yan's condescending tone made him even more resistant. Prince Yen made everything sound real good, as though the two of them would be joining forces to take revenge for Su Zimo. However, in reality, Prince Yen wanted him to submit. I'll naturally seek justice for Brother Su. Xie Qingqing waved his hand and said impatiently, however, there's no need to talk about joining forces. When he heard that, Prince Yan's expression darkened instantly as he said coldly, Xie Qingqing, you're truly shameless. What did you say? Xie Qingqing glared angrily. Prince Yen sneered, I'm giving you face by asking you to join forces with me. Otherwise, do you think a lowlife like you is worthy of joining forces with me? Those words sounded extremely piercing and even Lai Xian frowned slightly. Xie Qingqing's blood surged and he was enraged. When Heaven Immortal Yu Ying saw that the situation was bad, he hurried forward and held Xie Qingqing back, saying in a low voice, Prince, please calm down. Don't be rash. What? You even want to attack me? Prince Yen raised his brow slightly. If you dare to touch me, I don't mind crippling you right now and kicking you out of the Asura battlefield. Xie Qingqing panted slightly and the anger in his eyes gradually calmed down. The only way to attain what others cannot is by enduring what others cannot as well. That was what his mother said to him before her death and he would remember it forever. If not for that forbearance, he would not have been able to survive till now. Lai Xian looked at Xie Qingqing deeply and thought to himself, how ambitious must this lad be to be able to endure such humiliation? Be it in terms of talent, bloodline or status, Prince Yen was superior to Xie Qingqing. However, in Lai Xian's opinion, Xie Qingqing might not be inferior to Prince Yen in the future. In fact, he had a feeling that this prince with a beautiful face before him might one day stand out from the descendants of the royal family. Very good. When Prince Yen saw Xie Qingqing lower his head and not dare to meet his gaze, he nodded with a satisfied expression. He looked at the heaven immortals behind Xie Qingqing and said, your master is unwilling to submit, but I'll give you guys a chance now. You can either come over to my side or wait for me to send you guys out of the Asura battlefield. The heaven immortals looked at Xie Qingqing instinctively. Xie Qingqing was expressionless and silent. He could already tell that Prince Yen was here to annex his manpower to supplement the heaven immortals that he had lost previously. Prince Qingqing, I'm sorry. Heaven Immortal Yu Ying was the first to stand out. A wise bird chooses a proper tree to nestle in. Scram? Xie Qingqing interrupted without even looking at him. Heaven Immortal Yu Ying shrugged his shoulders and walked towards Prince Yan. Before he arrived, Heaven Immortal Yu Ying bowed. I've heard a lot about you, Prince Yan. It's a pity that I didn't have the chance to follow you. Now that I've obtained your recognition, I'm willing to serve you loyally. Good, good, good. Prince Yan burst into laughter. Heaven Immortal Yu Ying was the first to stand out. Immediately after, 9 more people stood on Prince Yan's side. In the blink of an eye, there were only 6 people left behind Xie Qingqing. Fufu, it seems like there are still 6 people who can't recognize their circumstances. Prince Yan chuckled. You guys. It was only then that Xie Qingqing turned around and looked at the 6 people beside him, wanting to speak but stopped. Prince, let's go. A grade 9 Heaven Immortal among the 6 of them said, the few of us won't stand a chance in the fight for the Spirit Cloud Seal. That's right. Another person said, Prince, you once saved my life. I'll definitely not abandon you. However, we'll only embarrass ourselves if we stay now. Xie Qingqing hesitated for a long time before his gaze turned resolute. He still remembered Su Zimo's reminder before he left. There's still more than 20 days to the final fight for the seal. If anything happens to me during this period of time, don't worry. Don't give up until the last moment. At that time, Xie Qingqing did not understand. Now that he thought about it, Su Zimo seemed to have expected something to happen. There was a deeper meaning to his words. Furthermore, Su Zimo had reminded him twice not to give up until the last moment. At that thought, Xie Qingqing said, Brothers, thank you for your loyalty and trust. Crush your teleportation talismans and leave this place. As for me, I'll wait here and see. It's just slightly more than 20 days in any case. Chapter 2509 Who will win? 2509 Who will win? Of the people that Xie Qingqing brought in, which of them had not received his kindness in the past? But now, when he was in trouble, only the 6 Heaven Immortals before him were willing to follow him. Prince Yan and the others had evil intentions and were watching covetously, ready to attack at any moment. Xie Qingqing did not want to implicate the 6 Heaven Immortals because of his persistence and put them in danger. He was a prince after all. Even if he stayed here, his life would not be in danger. At most, he would endure some humiliation. However, the lives of the 6 Heaven Immortals might be in danger. Prince. The 6 Heaven Immortals called out softly. Let's go. Xie Qingqing pretended to be carefree and smiled. Wait for me in the palace more than 20 days later. No matter if I succeed or fail, we have to get together and drink to our heart's content. All right. The 6 Heaven Immortals agreed readily. If they insisted on staying, they would only be surrounded by Prince Yan and the others. As for the 6 Heaven Immortals, they did not want to betray Xie Qingqing and their only choice was to leave. Right in front of Xie Qingqing, the 6 Heaven Immortals tore apart their teleportation talismans and left the Asura battlefield. Prince Yan sneered, Xie Qingqing, what are you still doing here? Are you waiting to embarrass yourself? Perhaps he wants to snatch the Spirit Cloud Seal single-handedly. The moment Heaven Immortal Yu Ying changed sides, his attitude changed completely as trampled on Xie Qingqing to curry favor with Prince Yan. It's none of your business whether I stay or leave. Xie Qingqing's tone was cold. Ouch. Prince Yan smiled. My good brother, you're quite indignant, aren't you? Yu Ying, go up and teach him a lesson. Wow. Heaven Immortal Yu Ying hesitated for a moment. What? You don't dare to? Are you still nostalgic for your old master? Prince Yan turned around and asked with narrowed eyes. No. Heaven Immortal Yu Ying's reaction was extremely fast as he denied hurriedly. Although he was a little resistant in his heart, he knew that this matter could end up as a guarantee of his change of heart. This was the only way he could truly gain the trust and high regards of Prince Yan. At that thought, Heaven Immortal Yu Ying made up his mind and walked towards Xie Qingqing. How dare you? Xie Qingqing glared at Heaven Immortal Yu Ying with a cold gaze. After all, he was a prince of the Yenyang Immortal Kingdom. Now that he was enraged, he exuded the shuddering might of the royal family. Although Heaven Immortal Yu Ying's cultivation realm was higher than Xie Qingqing, he had once followed Xie Qingqing after all. Furthermore, Xie Qingqing had once saved his life. Now that he was glared at by Xie Qingqing, he felt a little guilty and did not move for a long time. Don't be afraid. Prince Yan was all smiles as he instigated, it's fine as long as you don't kill him. If anything happens, I'll take responsibility. Thank you, Prince Yan. When Heaven Immortal Yuing heard that, he was relieved. Xie Qingqing cursed, ungrateful dog, I shouldn't have saved you back then. At the mention of that, Heaven Immortal Yuing blushed and felt extremely embarrassed. Hatred rose in his heart as he raised his hand and slapped Xie Qingqing, cursing, nobody asked you to save me. You were a busybody. Before Heaven Immortal Yu Ying's palm could land on Xie Qingqing's face, his wrist was grabbed by another thick palm that was like an iron hoop. Heaven Immortal Yu Ying could not move his arm at all. Instead, a terrifying heat wave emanated from the other party's palm, as though it could burn his arm to ashes. Fellow Taoist Lai Yu. Heaven Immortal Yu Ying turned around and could not help but look terrified when he saw that person. The person who stopped Heaven Immortal Yu Ying was Lai Xian, who was beside Prince Yan. Brother Lai, what's the meaning of this? Prince Yan frowned slightly. Lai Xian turned around and said in a deep voice, Xie Qingqing has the bloodline of the Yan-Yang Immortal King after all. If he's bullied by others, we'll be disgracing the honor of the royal family. Furthermore, he's alone and won't affect us at all. There's no need to kill him. Prince Yan was a little unhappy. However, Lai Xian was a reincarnated perfected immortal. Prince Yan had gone to great lengths to invite Lai Xian out of seclusion to help him this time round. As such, he had to give Lai Xian some face. All right. Prince Yan waved his hand. I'll listen to Brother Lai and not stoop to your level. Let's go. With that said, Prince Yan left with a group of cultivators. Lai Xian let go and Heaven Immortal Yu Ying had a pained expression as he hurriedly withdrew his wrist. In that short period of time, a brand was burned on his wrist and he could not feel his entire palm. Even though he suffered a huge loss, Heaven Immortal Yu Ying did not dare to have any complaints. Enduring the pain, he fled from this place dejectedly without turning back. Lai Xian turned to leave with his hands behind his back. Thank you. When he arrived at the entrance of the residence, Xie Qingqing's voice sounded behind him. Lai Xian paused and glanced sideways. The person you invited, Su Zimo, has indeed fallen into the lake. However, at that time, 6 of us who were on the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction were present. To be precise, he fought against the 6 of us single-handedly. That was the reason why he ended up in the Malevolent Blood Lake. When Xie Qingqing heard that, he no longer had any doubts. However, he had not expected that 6 of the top 10 on the heaven ranking prediction would join forces against Su Zimo. He's very strong. Lai Xian's tone seemed to reveal a hint of admiration and pity. After a moment of silence, he continued, if I had fought him alone, the outcome might have been unpredictable. With that said, Lai Xian left and disappeared in the blink of an eye. After everyone left, Xie Qingqing sat on the ground dejectedly. Right now he was the only one left with nothing and was at a loss and helpless. Even if he could still hold on to his beliefs, what else could he do in the face of such a situation? Was he still going to take part in the battle for the seal 20 days later? How could he fight against the other princes alone as a grade 7 heaven immortal? A month passed in the blink of an eye. On this final day, the remaining 7 princes of the Asura battlefield arrived at the lake in the center of the ancient city with their teams and awaited the final moment. When the Permethau Bridge arrived, it also meant that the most critical and intense battle to snatch for the seal had officially begun. Above the ancient city, the 6 perfected immortals of Divine Firmament Palace perked up as well. The next battle would determine the ranking of many cultivators on the heaven ranking prediction. Divine Rainbow exclaimed softly, there seems to be a team that hasn't arrived. It's Xie Qingqing. He's the only one left in his team. He must have given up. Divine Swamp explained. Make a guess. Who will get their hands on the Spirit Cloud seal? Before they could reply, Divine Cloud said himself, I'm guessing it's Princess Yu Yan. She has the help of Zhong Feiyu and has a high chance of winning. Divine Wind analyzed, from the looks of it, Prince Yan's team has the most people after devouring 10 people from Xie Qingqing. There are more than 60 of them. With the help of Lai Xian, his overall strength is above Princess Yu Yan and the others and his chances of winning are not small. Divine Flame said, actually the final fight for the seal does not depend on the overall strength of the team, but which team can guarantee that their prince will be the first to reach the Spirit Cloud seal. That will add countless variables to the battle for the seal. Prince Mingjiong has Song Si's help, Prince Feng has Heaven Immortal Luo Yang's help, Prince Yu has Yuhai's help, and there's also the powerful Prince Tianhuang. It's possible for all of them. Divine Crane, who do you think it will be? The five of them turned to look at Fairy Divine Crane, who had been silent for the past few days. I don't know. Fairy Divine Crane shook her head gently and replied distractedly. Her gaze was still fixed on the lake below, as though she was anticipating something. Suddenly, Fairy Divine Crane's expression changed. Chapter 25:10 You have a death wish. 25:10 You have a death wish. Look. Fairy Divine Crane was invigorated and pointed at the malevolent blood lake below, exclaiming. What? The other five perfected immortals turned around and their expressions changed slightly. The blood-colored lake in the center of the ancient city spun slowly as though it was drawn in by a mysterious force, forming a gigantic vortex. The six perfected immortals focused their gazes and looked down. They could see that in the center of the gigantic vortex, a figure was faintly visible, sitting at the bottom of the lake. It was Su Zimo. The six perfected immortals had long known that Su Zimo was not dead and were not surprised. What truly shocked the six perfected immortals was that through their spirit consciousness detection, Su Zimo had stayed in the malevolent blood lake for close to a month. Not only was he not damaged, his aura was much stronger than before. Seems like he's about to break through? Heavens, what opportunity did he obtain at the bottom of the lake? In less than 30 days he cultivated to this point. Is he going to break through to become a grade 7 heaven immortal? This lad actually created such a huge commotion with his breakthrough that the entire malevolent blood lake is triggered. Disbelief filled the faces of the six perfected immortals. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not have believed it. Fairy Divine Crane was the first to snap out of her stupor and accept this reality. Her lips curled into a smile as she said softly, "The battle for the seal seems to be getting interesting again. Earlier on you guys asked me who would get their hands on the Spirit Cloud seal. Now I've already got a candidate." The moment he said that, Su Zimo's aura surged in the depths of the lake and had already broken through some sort of a barrier. A grade 7 heaven immortal. In less than 30 days, Su Zimo had advanced a realm in the heaven essence realm. Even with the experience of the six perfected immortals, they were shocked by that cultivation speed. Right then, the figure at the bottom of the lake suddenly raised his head, as though he could look in the direction of the six perfected immortals through the blood fog. After a slight pause, the figure retracted his gaze and continued to regulate his breathing, absorbing the surrounding heaven and earth essence chi wildly to stabilize his cultivation realm. Wow! The six perfected immortals exchanged glances with bewildered expressions. He seemed to have glanced at us earlier on? A look of disbelief flashed through Divine Rainbow's eyes as he could not help but ask. Could he have discovered us? The other five people could not believe it and were puzzled as well. How was that possible? As perfected immortal experts, they hid in the depths of the blood fog in the Asura battlefield and were at the highest altitude, far beyond the range of the spirit consciousnesses of heaven immortals. Su Zimo was only a grade 7 heaven immortal. How could he sense their location? A moment later, Fairy Divine Crane coughed gently and reminded, Divine Rainbow, it's time to take out the heaven ranking prediction and change his ranking. Right. Divine Rainbow came to a realization and spread out the heaven ranking prediction hurriedly. True Essence gathered at his fingertip, but he paused and asked, what should his ranking be now? Rank 10 is definitely not suitable for him. That's right. When this lad was a grade 6 heaven immortal, he was already rank 10. Now that he's a grade 7 heaven immortal, don't place him too high either. I suggest we wait for things to stabilize and see what he has up his sleeves. How about rank 7? Rank 7 is fine. Let's do that first. The six perfected immortals discussed and pushed Su Zimo from the bottom of the heaven ranking prediction to rank 7. Yuhai, who was initially rank 7, became rank 8 instead. The commotion from the malevolent blood lake attracted the attention of the 7 teams as well. However, their spirit consciousnesses were far inferior to the perfected immortal experts. Naturally, they could not detect the bottom of the lake and did not know what was happening there. I got it. Right then, a thought flashed through Prince Xingyan's mind. This commotion should be a sign that the Permitha bridge is about to appear. Many cultivators were enlightened. Prince Yen sneered and pouted. Anybody can guess that. Do you need to state the obvious? Prince Xingyan's expression was terrible after being rebutted. Compared to the other 6 teams, he was the weakest individually. When they arrived at the ancient city, there were only 14 people left. Furthermore, there were no top-tier Heaven Immortal experts in his team. He only had 2 Grade 9 Heaven Immortals who were ranked at the back of the Heaven ranking prediction. Even if the 2 of them joined forces, they were far inferior compared to Zhong Feiyu and the others. Prince Xingyan merely chuckled and did not dare to reply. Right then, a golden light extended from the lone island in the middle of the Malevolent Blood Lake and traveled slowly towards everyone. The Permethau Bridge had descended. Haha, I was right. Prince Xingyan burst into laughter smugly. The Permethau Bridge crossed the Malevolent Blood Lake. However, it was rather narrow and looked like it could only accommodate 2 or 3 people walking side by side. It was almost foreseeable that the most intense conflicts would break out on the Permethau Bridge. Crossing the Permethau Bridge was only the first step. After ascending the lone island, there would still be a bitter battle between the princes. Nobody knew who would be able to obtain the Spirit Cloud Seal. Boom. The Permethau Bridge was already on the shore. However, the 7 teams were wary of one another and none of them acted rashly. Many cultivators were tense and a huge battle could break out at any moment. Right then, a lone figure walked over from afar with firm steps. Right in front of everyone, he walked towards the Permethau Bridge. Hundreds of cultivators were stunned. After recognizing that person, the princes could not help but curse, feeling that it was extremely ridiculous. Ha 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 ha. Prince Xingyan burst into laughter. Xie Qingqing, you want to snatch the Spirit Cloud Seal alone? Dream on. A series of chuckles sounded from the crowd. Everyone had long known about what happened to Xie Qingqing. In everyone's eyes, Xie Qingqing was so pitiful and laughable at the moment, like a stubborn stray dog. Nobody attacked. That was because Xie Qingqing, a Grade 7 Heaven Immortal, posed no threat to them at all. Without the help of others, any prince could trample him beneath their feet. Xie Qingqing ignored everyone's mockery and clenched his fists, walking towards the Permethau Bridge step by step. He wanted to snatch the Spirit Cloud Seal. He wanted to become a prince who ruled over a territory and clear his mother's name as well as his own. He did not want to give up until the last moment. Just like that, in front of everyone, Xie Qingqing arrived at the edge of the Malevolent Blood Lake and was only a step away from the Permethau Bridge. Kneel. Heaven Immortal Yu Ying was observant. When he saw Prince Yan's displeasure, he charged forward right away and hollered, kicking Xie Qingqing. Just as Xie Qingqing was about to resist, countless powerful spirit consciousnesses descended and crushed him. He could not move at all. Thud. Xie Qingqing was kicked over by Heaven Immortal Yu Ying and sprawled on the ground. The powerful spirit consciousness pressure did not dissipate and he could not even stand up. Xie Qingqing's eyes were bloodshot as he looked at the golden bridge before him and the lone island at the end of the bridge. With a resolute gaze he crawled forward bit by bit. Xie Qingqing, Prince Yan gave you a chance. Yet, you don't know your limits and still insist on coming over to snatch the seal? Heaven Immortal Yu Ying took a step forward and stomped on Xie Qingqing's back, harumphing coldly. Let's see how you're going to step foot on the Permethau Bridge beneath my feet. Yu Ying was once someone close to Xie Qingqing. Now he was trampling on the ladder instead. Everyone gloated and cheered to watch the show. You have a death wish. Right then, a cold and sinister voice sounded from the Malevolent Blood Lake. Chapter 2511, 2511 Kill. 2511 Kill. Who's speaking? Yu Ying was stunned. The sound seemed like it came from the Malevolent Blood Lake, but how was that possible? How could there be someone alive in the Malevolent Blood Lake? Immediately after, a figure walked out slowly from the lake. He did not have any water on him and had black hair, green robes and refined features. However, his eyes were filled with a chilling killing intent. Su Zimo. Heaven Immortal Yu Ying was shocked and exclaimed. The expressions of the surrounding cultivators changed as well as they frowned in disbelief. The news of Su Zimo being forced into the Malevolent Blood Lake by Zhong Feiyu had long spread among everyone and everybody tacitly agreed that Su Zimo was dead. To think that Su Zimo would walk out of the Malevolent Blood Lake alive. Only Zhong Feiyu, Song Su and the others were delighted instead of shocked. The fact that Su Zimo was still alive meant that they had another chance to snatch the Pure Jade Manual from him. Why Weren't you already dead? Heaven Immortal Yu Ying felt chills run down his spine when he was targeted by Su Zimo, and his voice trembled uncontrollably. He had witnessed Su Zimo's methods personally. Even experts on the heaven ranking prediction could not defend against Su Zimo's killing power. Heaven Immortal Yu Ying felt a strong sense of danger, as though a calamity could descend at any moment. He was extremely decisive as well. His spirit consciousness stirred right away as he wanted to take out his teleportation talisman and escape from the Asura battlefield. Bang! A figure flashed by. Immediately after, Heaven Immortal Yu Ying was sent flying by a tremendous force. While he was in midair, he suddenly exploded into a blood mist. The tremendous power smashed his essence spirit into sludge as well. Fast, it was way too fast. Even though Heaven Immortal Yu Ying knew that Su Zimo wanted to kill him, he could not dodge. The Grade 9 Heaven Immortal was helpless and was killed instantly by Su Zimo. The powerful spirit consciousness pressure could suppress Xie Qingqing, a Grade 7 Heaven Immortal, but it could not suppress Su Zimo, who was at the same cultivation realm. Look, he's already broken through to become a Grade 7 Heaven Immortal. He must have obtained some opportunity at the bottom of the lake. So what if he's a Grade 7 Heaven Immortal? What can he do? Anybody who is in the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction will be able to teach him a lesson. Many cultivators noticed the change in Su Zimo and discussed. The more ignorant one was, the more fearless they were. The 6 experts who fought against Su Zimo in front of the Malevolent Blood Lake frowned. Although the battle back then was short, Su Zimo managed to injure Song Su despite fighting 1 against 6. It was clear how terrifying his methods were. Now that Su Zimo had broken through to become a Grade 7 Heaven Immortal, his combat strength would definitely increase to another level. Of course, for the 6 Heaven Immortals, Su Zimo, a Grade 7 Heaven Immortal, was not much of a threat. He was merely troublesome to deal with. Su Zimo helped Xie Qingqing up. "Brother Su, you're still alive." Xie Qingqing was delighted and excited. Su Zimo nodded and glanced at the Permethau bridge behind him. "Go to the island and get the seal. With me here, no one can cross this bridge." Although his words were nonchalant, there was a boldness to them that he did not take anyone present seriously at all. The 6 experts who were top 10 on the heaven ranking prediction were present as well. Su Zimo's words were equivalent to ignoring the 6 Heaven Immortals. Princess Yu Yan's eyes were filled with disdain as she sneered, "You're just a defeated opponent of Brother Zone. How dare you boast shamelessly? Audacious." Prince Yen could not help but stand out as well. He pointed at Su Zimo and scolded angrily, "How dare a Grade 7 Heaven Immortal like you guard the Permethau Bridge alone? With my order, dozens of Heaven Immortals under my lead will crush over and trample you to death." Su Zimo swept his gaze and saw a few Heaven Immortals who were initially on Xie Qingqing's side behind Prince Yen. With a single thought, he could guess what happened to Xie Qingqing. "I'll cripple you before you even give the order." Before Su Zimo could finish, he released his innate divine power, the 6-tusked divine strength. The flesh of the green lotus true body had absorbed the white tiger malevolent blood endlessly. As such, the malevolent blood chi outside could no longer seal him. Behind Su Zimo, 6 jade white and sharp divine elephant tusks grew. They emitted a terrifying aura and his strength increased exponentially. At the same time, an incomparably blinding light burst forth from Su Zimo's right eye and tore through the air. Visual technique, Illumination Eye. "Watch out." Lai Xian reminded Prince Yen loudly with a grim expression and constricted his pupils. The killer visual technique arrived instantly. Lai Xian did not have time to release other methods and hurriedly condensed his visual technique to counter as well. Boom. Their visual techniques collided with a loud bang and sparks flew. Lai Xian's visual technique was similar to Illumination Eye. It was also incomparably blinding and hovered in his sockets like 2 blazing suns. Unfortunately, no matter how strong his visual technique was, it could not defeat Illumination Eye. The predecessor of Illumination Eye was the visual technique of the dragon race, Illumination Dragon Eye. If it was just Illumination Dragon Eye, it might be evenly matched against Lai Xian's visual technique. However, there was a mysterious illumination stone in Su Zimo's right eye. With the illumination stone as the foundation, he could maximize the power of Illumination Eye to its limits. There was a slight pause after the collision of the 2 visual techniques. Immediately after, Illumination Eye broke through the obstruction of Lai Xian's visual technique and arrived behind him instantly, in front of Prince Yen. Initially, Illumination Eye was aimed at Prince Yan's glabella. However, because of Lai Xian's obstruction, there were some slight deviations. Even so, the beam of Illumination Eye still entered Prince Yan's chest and exploded. Abandon your body and flee with your essence spirit. The moment the two visual techniques made contact, Lai Xian sensed that something was amiss and shouted. With Lai Xian defending at the front, Prince Yan reacted as well. In a hurry, his essence spirit flew out from above his head. The moment he did that, his body was shattered by the beam of light released by Illumination Eye and burned with raging flames that even wanted to engulf his essence spirit. Lai Xian hurriedly took out his teleportation talisman and crushed it the moment he pressed it on Prince Yan's essence spirit. He sent Prince Yan's essence spirit out of the Asura battlefield. Su Zimo's visual technique was way too terrifying and Prince Yan's body was completely crippled. Before long, he turned into ashes without a single drop of essence blood left. Even with Lai Xian's capabilities, he could only try his best to protect Prince Yan's essence spirit and send him out of this place to be out of danger for the time being. Many cultivators were gathered on the massive square in the Yenyang Palace. Everyone knew that today was the last day of the battle for the seal and the Prince of Spirit Cloud County would be decided. Therefore, many cultivators were gathered here to wait. Suddenly, a beam of light flashed in the square. Immediately after, an essence spirit appeared with a pained expression. It struggled continuously and shrieked, "Hurry and save me, Prince Yan." Everyone quickly recognized the essence spirit and exclaimed. Although Prince Yan managed to escape from the Asura battlefield, his body was crippled and his essence spirit was affected by the aftershock. His body was scorching and shone with a red glow. Xieling's expression changed as he hurried forward and released the power of true essence to suppress the fire poison in Prince Yan's essence spirit and resolve the crisis. Xieling looked at Prince Yan whose essence spirit was dim and dispirited and shook his head gently, sighing internally. Although Prince Yan managed to survive, his essence spirit was severely injured. Even if he found a suitable body in the future, he would be reduced to a cripple and fade into the masses. Chapter 25:12 Powerful Suppression. 25:12 Powerful Suppression. On the Asura battlefield. With Prince Yan's withdrawal, no matter how many people were left in his team, they no longer had the chance to obtain the Spirit Cloud Seal. Lai Xian was enraged. It was not because Prince Yan had withdrawn from this battle for the seal, but because Su Zimo had crippled Prince Yan right in front of him. That was a slap to his face. Suddenly, Lai Xian's expression changed starkly. This is bad. Before he could retaliate against Su Zimo, the latter had already charged over. Although he did not turn back, Lai Xian could still sense a suffocating malevolent aura surging over. It was as though the person charging over was not a human, but a man-eating ferocious beast. Lai Xian had just saved Prince Yan and was slightly distracted when Su Zimo seized the opportunity to close in. He did not have time to release any divine powers or weapons. At that distance, the only way to resolve the crisis and turn the situation around was to release a secret skill instantly. Lai Xian did not dare to release teleportation. Although teleportation could allow one to escape from the spot, it was a supreme divine power after all. There was a cast time and one was easily interrupted during the process. He was already disadvantaged to begin with. If he was interrupted by Su Zimo, there was a high chance that his life would be in danger. In a flash, Lai Xian made a judgment and channeled his blood qi to its limits. His bloodline phenomenon appeared faintly and released a sound domain secret skill. Roar. However, at the same time, Su Zimo's sound domain secret skill sounded in his ears. The dragon roar that was filled with endless might burst forth once more, reverberating through the world and charging into the clouds. It could be said that Lai Xian's reaction was extremely fast and he made the best choice. However, things were different now. More than 20 days ago, the Dragon Roar secret skill released by Su Zimo was at the realm of a grade 6 heaven immortal and did not have the augmentation of the 6-tusk divine strength. But now, the power of Su Zimo's Dragon Roar secret skill had almost doubled. The two of them were extremely close. Lai Xian and the 60-odd heaven immortals under Prince Yan who were behind him right now were the first to be struck and receive the greatest impact. Lai Xian spat out a mouthful of blood and his head buzzed. His expression was dull and his ears hurt as blood seeped out. His blood chi fluctuated and his bloodline phenomenon was almost dispersed by Su Zimo's Dragon Roar secret skill before it was fully formed. It swayed and was on the brink of collapse. Lai Xian was rank 4 on the heaven ranking prediction and was a reincarnated perfected immortal of the Yin-Yang Immortal Kingdom. His physique and bloodline were strong and he had almost no weaknesses. Even he could not withstand it, let alone the 60-odd heaven immortals behind him. Poof, poof, poof. The heads of the heaven immortals closest to the front few rows exploded like watermelons and their essence spirits were destroyed. The grade 9 heaven immortals at the back swayed as well and bled from all 7 orifices. Their gazes were dull as they died. Thud, thud. The 60-odd heaven immortals fell one after another. Although the few people further away did not have any injuries on their bodies, they had lost expressions. Their consciousnesses were shattered and their essence spirits dissipated. Prince Yan's group was completely annihilated. These people died in the Asura battlefield before they could even release their teleportation talismans. As for Su Zimo, he released the Dragon Roar secret skill and coiled around Lai Xian's body like an anaconda without even looking at the others. Crackle. The sound of bones cracking could be heard from Lai Xian's body as his eyes bulged and turned bloodshot. His face was purplish and he looked like he was about to explode from Su Zimo's squeeze. Brother Su, wait. Right then, Xie Qingqing had just snapped out of his stupor and shouted hurriedly. MMM? Su Zimo's expression changed. He did not continue exerting strength. Instead, he returned to his original form and reached out, grabbing the top of Lai Xian's head. He lifted the ladder and strode towards Xie Qingqing. Lai Xian, rank 4 on the heaven ranking prediction, was now limp and defenseless in Su Zimo's hands. Su Zimo pressed his palm on the top of his head and sealed his essence spirit. As long as he made any strange movements, Su Zimo would be able to kill him with a single palm strike. The entire process happened too quickly. It was only then that the surrounding cultivators snapped out of their stupor and their expressions changed. The cultivators had horrified expressions and retreated instinctively, wanting to distance themselves from Su Zimo. Nobody expected Su Zimo to be so domineering that he would dare to attack Prince Yan and Lai Xian in front of everyone. More than that, nobody expected that the arrogant and domineering Prince Yan would be crippled instantly and had to flee from the Asura battlefield. His team was completely annihilated. Even Lai Xian, rank 4 on the heaven ranking prediction and a reincarnated perfected immortal, was forcefully suppressed by Su Zimo and captured alive. The entire process merely took a few breaths. Everyone understood that it was easy to defeat someone of the same cultivation realm. However, it was extremely difficult to capture the other party alive unless one was absolutely superior in strength. Zhong Feiyu, Song Su and the other 3 experts on the heaven ranking prediction had different expressions. They did not stand by idly on purpose. None of them expected Lai Xian to lose so quickly. By the time they reacted, the fight had already ended. Zhong Feiyu, Song Su, Heaven Immortal Luo Yang, Yu Hai and Xie Tianhuang exchanged glances. Although they did not say anything, they had a tacit understanding. They were under immense pressure after seeing Su Zimo's actions. If they were to fight again, the 5 of them had to join forces. In the blink of an eye, Su Zimo carried Lai Xian to Xie Qingqing and asked, "Why? Do you intend to punish him personally, Brother Xie?" "No." Xie Qingqing looked at the dispirited Lai Xian and shook his head gently. He looked troubled and wanted to speak but stopped. After hesitating for a moment, he said, "Brother Su, I want to ask you to spare him this time round." "Oh." Su Zimo raised his brow slightly. Xie Qingqing explained hurriedly, "Before this, Prince Yan brought people to humiliate me. He stood in to help me and so I—" Xie Qingqing was someone who was clear about gratitude and hatred. He owed Lai Xian a favor. Furthermore, in his opinion, Lai Xian did not deserve to die. "All right." Su Zimo nodded. Since Lai Xian had once helped Xie Qingqing, there was no harm in him letting this person off. Su Zimo was about to let go of Lai Xian when Xie Qingqing held him back hurriedly. He looked at Lai Xian and said in a deep voice, "Fellow Taoist Lai Xian, I can let you off, but you have to promise me that you'll leave the Asura battlefield immediately and not attack Brother Su again. You're not allowed to be enemies with him in the future either." Although he wanted Su Zimo to let Lai Xian off this time round, he did not want Su Zimo to gain another strong foe in the Asura battlefield because of this action. Lai Xian grit his teeth and his eyes burned with rage. He pursed his lips in silence. Of course he did not want to die. However, he did not want to submit just like that either. Furthermore, he had just been defeated and was indignant. In his opinion, Su Zimo suppressed him completely because he was distracted in order to save Prince Yan, and that resulted in a series of defeats later on. He had yet to release all his methods and trump cards. Right then, as though he could read Lai Xian's mind, Su Zimo suddenly asked, "Lai Xian, are you indignant?" Lai Xian clenched his fists and refused to speak. Ha 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 ha. Su Zimo reared his head in laughter. Lai Xian, so what if I let you off? If I can suppress you once, I can suppress you a second time. Chapter 25:13 Slaying Song Su. 25:13 Slaying Song Su. Pust. Everyone present was shocked and horrified. Those words were extremely heroic and earth-shaking. Even the 6 perfected immortals of Divine Firmament Palace above the ancient city in the blood fog could not help but exclaim emotionally. That lad sure is bold. He's encircled by enemies all around, including Zhong Feiyu and 4 other experts in the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction as well as hundreds of top-tier heaven immortals. Despite that, he restrained a strong foe like Lai Xian and even dared to let him off. Who can match his boldness? Fairy Divine Crane's beautiful eyes shone brightly as she could not help but say, "I'll definitely write that sentence on his evaluation in the heaven ranking prediction later on. That's for sure." "Why, you really dare to let me off?" Lai Xian finally spoke with a look of disbelief. To be fair, even if he was in Su Zimo's position, he would definitely not let Su Zimo off. That was no different from letting a tiger return to its mountain. "Don't blame me for not reminding you." Lai Xian grit his teeth. "Given my physique and bloodline, it won't take long for me to recover my combat strength. You." Before Lai Xian could finish, Su Zimo flung him away. Lai Xian looked at Su Zimo with a conflicted expression. Taking a deep breath of air, he took out a handful of elixir pills from his storage bag and swallowed them to recuperate. Su Zimo looked at Xie Qingqing and said indifferently, "Don't worry, go and get the spirit cloud seal. I'll guard this place and no one will be able to pass." It was almost the same sentence. Earlier on, everyone felt that it was extremely ridiculous and arrogant. But now, everyone could sense an unshakable confidence in his words. Wow. Xie Qingqing was still hesitant. "I can't go all out with you by my side." Su Zimo nodded slightly and gave Xie Qingqing a reassuring look. "All right." Xie Qingqing no longer hesitated and turned towards the lone island at the end of Permitha Bridge. "We can't let him pass." Prince Mingjiong urged hurriedly. Princess Yu Yen, Prince Feng and the others were anxious as well and ordered hurriedly. In reality, 5 people had attacked even faster than the princes could give the orders. Zhong Feiyu, Song Su, Heaven Immortal Luo Yang, Yu Hai and Xie Tianhuang, the 5 experts who were in the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction, had a tacit understanding and split into 5 directions, charging towards Su Zimo at the same time. At that moment, Su Zimo had just bid farewell to Xie Qingqing. His back was facing everyone and he did not turn around. This scene was extremely similar to how Su Zimo attacked Lai Xian. Su Zimo sensed danger before he even turned around. His expression was unchanged and the killing intent in his eyes was almost corporeal as he conjured a dermic art that he had never released before. As though it was drawn in by a powerful suction force, the endless malevolent blood qi gathered rapidly. A shuddering aura descended on the battlefield. The hearts of Zhong Feiyu and the others skipped a beat as they looked grim. Against that aura, their hearts trembled uncontrollably, as though something extremely terrifying had descended. Suddenly, roar. Accompanied by a deafening tiger roar, a gigantic white demon tiger with a torrential malevolent aura appeared out of nowhere to the west of Song Su. The sacred beast, the white tiger, had descended. When the white tiger sacred beast appeared, everyone present felt a pressure that came from the depths of their souls and bloodlines and shivered. The white tiger sacred beast's eyes were bloodshot as it locked onto Song Su and lunged forward. Amidst the tiger roar, the 5 perfected immortals released their sound domain secret skills hurriedly to defend. The white tiger sacred beast that suddenly appeared locked onto Song Su and did not give him any chance to escape. Song Su wanted to resist and release divine powers and secret skills instantly. Unfortunately, none of them could defend against the pounce of the white tiger's sacred beast. The white tiger's sacred beast opened its mouth and swallowed Song Su instantly. Blood gushed out endlessly as malevolent aura entered Song Su's body, destroying his life force. It was an extremely shocking scene. In the eyes of countless cultivators, a white tiger suddenly appeared from the west with Song Su in its mouth. Song Su was covered in blood and did not move at all. His eyes were widened in fear and there was no longer any life in his body. Song Su was dead. The white tiger carried Song Su's corpse and stood in midair, emitting a shocking malevolent aura. It was like a god of killing in the world and was unparalleled. Although Song Su was dead, he still took out the teleportation talisman from his storage bag and crushed it before his death. Unfortunately, it was too late. Song Su's corpse was enveloped by a beam of light and left the Asura battlefield. This was the fourth secret skill of the Hell Suppression tripod that was unparalleled in lethality, White Tiger Corpse Collection. In reality, although White Tiger Corpse Collection was terrifying, it was not to the extent where it could kill Song Su, who was rank 5 on the heaven ranking prediction, with a single move. Song Su was not that weak either. However, this was the Asura battlefield that was shrouded in malevolent blood chi. As for Su Zimo, he was at the edge of the malevolent blood lake. Therefore, when the white tiger was formed, it absorbed a large amount of malevolent blood from the lake and almost materialized. This malevolent blood chi was something that even perfected immortals could not withstand and had to avoid. The reason why Su Zimo was able to survive in the malevolent blood lake was because he relied on his green lotus true body to cultivate the secret skill of White Tiger Corpse Collection. Although Song Su was strong and had many trump cards, he could not withstand the impact of the White Tiger malevolent blood. Furthermore, the White Tiger malevolent blood was released in the form of a killing technique. After that secret skill was released, the entire place fell into a dead silence. All the cultivators who wanted to attack Su Zimo earlier on were rooted on the spot in shock, unable to recover from the scene earlier on. Xie Qingqing had only taken a few steps when he turned back instinctively, still worried. With that glance, he caught sight of a white tiger coming from the west and killing Song Su instantly. It was only now that Xie Qingqing was truly relieved. Furthermore, he vaguely realized that there was a chance he could truly become the final victor. In the square of the Yenyang Palace, the many cultivators gathered here did not know what happened in the Asura battlefield. They could only speculate while watching the real-time updates of the heaven ranking prediction. To think that Prince Yen would be almost completely crippled despite having Lai Xian to protect him. It's probably Zhong Feiyu's doing. He's probably the only one with such capabilities. Just as everyone was discussing, another light flashed on the square. Immediately after, a bloodied corpse fell from midair and sprawled on the ground motionlessly. There was no life in its body and it was long dead. Which unlucky fool is it again? Even with a teleportation talisman, he was killed. Haha, he wants to take part in the Asura battlefield with that level of skill? He might as well join us outside to watch the show. A series of chuckles sounded from the crowd. Someone frowned. Isn't that the badge of an execution guard on the waist of this corpse? Execution guard. Someone went forward and kicked the corpse over. When he saw the face of the corpse, the person was shocked and staggered a few steps back. Pust. The other cultivators gasped as well. Rank 5 on the heaven ranking prediction, the number 1 heaven execution guard, Song Su. Even Song Su was dead. What exactly happened in the Asura battlefield? Chapter 25:14 Brief Instant. 25:14 Brief Instant. Above the ancient city. The 6 perfected immortals of Divine Firmament Palace were shocked and dumbfounded. Fairy Divine Crane had long thought highly of Su Zimo and could sense that this battle would be extremely intense. However, she had not expected that Song Su would be killed instantly by Su Zimo before he could even charge forward. Song Su was not a nobody. He was the number 1 heaven execution guard and was rank 5 on the heaven ranking prediction. There was a chance for somebody to defeat an expert of this level if they were of the same cultivation realm. However, it was extremely difficult to kill him. Furthermore, it was an instant kill. Back then, when Jianghu, who was rank 2 on the heaven ranking prediction, fought against Zhong Feiyu, he won the battle. Although he was slightly stronger, he could not kill Zhong Feiyu. Song Su had a teleportation talisman that he could use to leave the Asura battlefield at any moment. He did not even have time to use it. Wow. Divine Rainbow composed himself and analyzed in a deep voice. Su Zimo is way too smart. The reason why his secret skill earlier on had such a terrifying killing power was because he made use of the power of the malevolent blood lake. Divine Cloud said, after that lad appeared, he controlled the situation. Notwithstanding the fact that he captured Lai Xian alive, he even made use of his environmental advantage to kill Song Su and seize the initiative. Song Su's death is equivalent to a warning bell for everyone present. Divine Flame said, I reckon that if anyone sees that the situation is bad during the fight later on, they will crush their teleportation talismans and escape from this place. In reality, the situation below was as the 6 perfected immortals had expected. Many cultivators who were initially prepared to summon their divine powers and dermic treasures took out their teleportation talismans from their storage bags one after another and gripped them in their palms with wary expressions. There was a momentary pause on the battlefield because of Song Su's death. Everyone, including Zhong Feiyu, Yu Hai, Heaven Immortal Luo Yang and Xie Tianhuang, froze in shock. Instinctively, a doubt flashed through their minds. If that savage white tiger earlier on lunged towards them, who could defend against it? Nobody could give an answer. Even Zhong Feiyu could not guarantee that he could escape unscathed. At that thought, the 4 of them felt a sense of trepidation. It was as though Song Su had died in their steads. Of course, given their experience, the 4 of them could quickly determine that Su Zimo's secret skill made use of the malevolent blood chi of the Asura battlefield. Furthermore, such a peerless secret skill could not be released consecutively. Therefore, the 4 of them did not retreat. However, during that brief instant while the 4 of them were shocked, Su Zimo attacked once more. Among the 4 of them, Zhong Feiyu was the strongest. If he could not defeat Zhong Feiyu within a short period of time, he would be encircled by the 4 of them. Therefore, Su Zimo used the True Dragon 9 flashes and arrived before Heaven Immortal Luo Yang instantly. He had no intention of holding back at all and released a supreme divine power, Fleeting Moment. Wind and Rain. Although Heaven Immortal Luo Yang released a supreme divine power as well, he could still sense a strong sense of danger. This is bad. Heaven Immortal Luo Yang's expression changed starkly. He had long heard about how terrifying Su Zimo's supreme divine power was. However, without facing it personally, he would never be able to understand the helplessness against time. Back then, even Lai Xian had to release many divine powers and secret skills before releasing his bloodline phenomenon, Rising 9 Suns, to ensure his safety. In a flash, a decisive look flashed through Heaven Immortal Luo Yang's eyes. He crushed the teleportation talisman in his hands and chose to escape from the Asura battlefield. It was not because he was weak and cowardly, but because he had no other choice. Given his capabilities, he would definitely be able to resolve the danger of Fleeting Moment if he released many divine powers and secret skills, including his bloodline phenomenon. However, Su Zimo had already closed in. If he chose to stay on the battlefield and resolve Fleeting Moment, he would have to face Su Zimo's melee combat attacks. He had witnessed Su Zimo's melee combat strength before. Even Song Su and Lai Xian could not defend against it, let alone him. Furthermore, he would be at his weakest after resolving Fleeting Moment. Coupled with Su Zimo's melee combat, he might not even have the chance to tear the teleportation talisman at that time. A light flashed. Heaven Immortal Luo Yang disappeared from the Asura battlefield and returned to the square of the Yen-Yang Immortal Kingdom. Although he managed to escape, Fleeting Moment's divine powers were still present. He could clearly sense his lifespan decreasing at a terrifying speed. Splash. Heaven Immortal Luo Yang's eyes widened as he channeled his bloodline to its limits. With a boom, his body released his bloodline phenomenon. At the same time, he released many divine powers and secret skills in succession and finally purged the power of time from his body. Even so, his lifespan had been completely reduced by 100,000 years. In that single instant, he lost 100,000 years of lifespan. Heaven Immortals had a lifespan of 300,000 years. He was originally 190,000 years old and was at his peak. His blood chi was strong and he was filled with energy. But now that his lifespan was reduced by 100,000 years, he was 290,000 years old and was already in his twilight years with white hair and a face filled with wrinkles. His blood chi was so weak that he could not even sustain his bloodline phenomenon. Ah! Heaven Immortal Luo Yang grabbed his white hair and his eyes widened. His features were contorted as he let out a hysterical roar. Su Zimo, you're way too ruthless. Heaven Immortal Luo Yang grit his teeth and spat out a few words, trembling in anger. Su Zimo's attack earlier on was way too domineering and left him no way out. If he stayed on the Asura battlefield and released his divine powers, secret skills and bloodline phenomenon to defend against fleeting moment, he would be killed by Su Zimo. Even after he made a prompt decision to leave the battlefield, he could not escape from being dealt a severe blow by fleeting moment either. On the Asura battlefield, many cultivators were dumbfounded when they saw Heaven Immortal Luo Yang choose to escape after Su Zimo released a single supreme divine power. In fact, they even felt that it was ridiculous. No matter how strong Su Zimo was, there was no need to be this scared, right? Only Su Zimo raised his brow slightly and nodded and said, as expected of rank 8 on the Heaven ranking prediction. You do have some skills. Heaven Immortal Luo Yang was lucky to have escaped quickly. If he was a step slower and Su Zimo managed to release his melee combat cultivation techniques, Heaven Immortal Luo Yang would have definitely died. Su Zimo's praise was sincere. However, his words were extremely ironic to many cultivators. Many cultivators even secretly looked down on Heaven Immortal Luo Yang for being so cowardly like a startled bird. Even rank 8 on the Heaven ranking prediction was nothing much. Su Zimo forced Heaven Immortal Luo Yang back with a single supreme divine power. Without stopping, he turned and charged towards Yu Hai, who was the closest. On the other side, a cold sword beam shone. Zhong Feiyu had attacked. The flying fish sword that was as thin as cicada wings arrived instantly. Xie Tianhuang narrowed his eyes slightly and his heart skipped a beat. Instead of joining the combat, he turned and charged towards the Permitha bridge. His plan was perfect. Right now, Zhong Feiyu and Yu Hai were joining forces to hold back Su Zimo. He could make use of this rare opportunity to charge up the Permitha bridge. At that time, the battle between him and Xie Qingqing would be on the lone island. However, Xie Qingqing was not his match at all. As long as he could suppress Xie Qingqing and Su Zimo was of no threat, he would be able to obtain the Spirit Cloud Seal successfully. Chapter 25-15 Situation Control. 25-15 Situation Control. It had to be said that Prince Tianhuang's judgment of the situation was extremely accurate. This was a rare opportunity that was fleeting. Although he did not have any expert on the top 10 of the Heaven ranking prediction by his side, he made use of Zhong Feiyu and the others to create an almost perfect opportunity for himself. Even the 6 perfected immortals of Divine Firmament Palace who were watching from high in the skies could not help but exclaim at his intelligence. Through his actions, Prince Tianhuang could avoid the main battlefield and maximize his advantage. Unfortunately, he was up against Su Zimo. The moment he made a move, Su Zimo sensed his intentions. At the same time that he charged towards Yu Hai, a jade manual flew out from his glabella. The jade manual emitted a green glow and in the blink of an eye, a clone identical to him was formed, charging towards Prince Tianhuang. Jade Pure Jade Manual, Primeval Body. Su Zimo's Green Lotus True Body defended against the combined forces of Yu Hai and Zhong Feiyu. However, the Primeval Body stopped Prince Tianhuang. Right before Prince Tianhuang reached the Permitha bridge, the Primeval Body arrived. Naturally, he recognized that this was a clone conjured by Su Zimo using the Jade Pure Jade Manual to hold him back. Prince Tianhuang sneered and gripped his heavenly phoenix saber that was scorching red with both hands, slashing down at Su Zimo's Primeval Body. You want to stop me with just a clone? You must be dreaming. Prince Tianhuang hollered and his blood chi surged with the sound of a tsunami. His strength was pushed to its limits. In reality, Prince Tianhuang was not wrong. The Primeval Body was condensed from the Jade Pure Jade Manual. Although it was strong, it did not have a true physical body or essence spirit. He could still win against ordinary cultivators of the same cultivation realm. However, he definitely had no chance against a top-tier expert like Prince Tianhuang. It was useless even if he took on the form of the taboo dragon phoenix. Suddenly, just as the heavenly phoenix saber was about to descend, the primeval body before him suddenly swayed slightly. For a moment, Prince Tianhuang's vision blurred. Something seemed to have changed before him, but everything seemed normal. The clone of Su Zimo before him still had black hair, green robes and refined features. On the other side, Yu Hai and Zhong Feiyu joined forces and released the strongest offensive methods in their lives without holding back. In fact, they even released their bloodline phenomenons and struck Su Zimo like a storm. Against such an attack, Su Zimo's figure seemed extremely frail, like a small boat amidst raging tides. Bang! Su Zimo's body exploded. He died just like that. Zhong Feiyu and Yuhai did not believe it at all. Furthermore, no blood flowed out after Su Zimo's body exploded. This is a clone. Zhong Feiyu thought of something right away and spun around. He looked in the direction of the heavenly Tianhuang and reminded loudly, "Watch out." When he heard Zhong Feiyu's warning, a mocking look flashed through the eyes of the primeval body in front of Prince Tianhuang and his lips curled. When he saw that change in expression, Prince Tianhuang's pupils constricted and he suddenly felt a chilling intent. The Su Zimo before him was not a clone, but his true body. Su Zimo's gaze intensified. Suddenly he reached out and grabbed the incoming heavenly phoenix saber. He strode forward and punched with his fist that was like a seal. Prince Tianhuang raised his arm hurriedly. Bang! The gigantic seal smashed down with a dull sound of defeat. Immediately after, the sound of bones cracking could be heard. Prince Tianhuang felt a sharp pain in his arm. It was broken by a single punch from Su Zimo. Su Zimo took another step forward and slapped down once more. Prince Tianhuang retreated and raised his head to avoid. Crack! The palm landed on his chest. His heart-protecting mirror shattered. His chest caved in deeply as well, revealing a gigantic palm print pit. Even his armor could not defend against Su Zimo's power. Prince Tianhuang's heavenly phoenix bloodline was suppressed by the white tiger malevolent blood and he could not release his bloodline phenomenon. Initially he had the highest status among this group of people. Now that Su Zimo had replaced him, he was naturally displeased. My! Right then a chuckle sounded not far away. Isn't that brother Qingqing? What? You want to enter the Asura battlefield as well? When Xie Qingqing heard that voice he could already guess who it was without turning back. A group of cultivators sped over and there were exactly 101 of them. Their leader was a rotund man in yellow robes. It was Prince Ichio of the Yin-Yang Immortal Kingdom, a grade 8 heaven immortal. Ha 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 ha. In the blink of an eye, Prince Ichio arrived with a group of heaven immortal experts under his lead. When he saw the 18 cultivators on Xie Qingqing's side, he could not help but burst into laughter brazenly. My dear younger brother, you've only gathered so few people and you still want to enter the Asura battlefield to snatch the seal. Prince Ichio burst into laughter. In my opinion you should hurry home. With the few people you brought, you'll have to die inside before you can even catch sight of the spirit cloud seal. Holy fuck. When Prince Ichio's gaze landed on Su Zimo, he widened his eyes and said in an exaggerated manner, "No way. You've only recruited these few heaven immortals and there's even a grade 6 heaven immortal among them. Is he here to make up the numbers?" Haha. A series of laughter broke out from the crowd behind Prince Ichio. Among the heaven immortals behind Prince Ichio, the weakest were grade 8 heaven immortals while the rest were grade 9 heaven immortals. In everyone's opinion, even a grade 7 heaven immortal was not qualified to take part in a fight of this level, let alone a grade 6 heaven immortal. Su Zimo had a calm expression. However, Xie Qingqing and the others had ugly expressions. They were naturally indignant at being mocked and looked down on. However, the other party had the advantage in numbers and they did not dare to say anything. Yuing harumphed coldly. Although he's a grade 6 heaven immortal, he's a paragon expert ranked 24 on the heaven ranking prediction. This is Su Zimo of Heaven and Earth Academy. At the mention of Su Zimo, the mocking laughter on the other end gradually subsided. Many cultivators looked at Su Zimo with surprise and caution. Only a cold-faced man beside Prince Ichio suddenly raised his head. 2 cold beams of light burst forth from his eyes and he did not conceal the hostility in them. It's him? Recognizing that person's background, Yu Ying's heart skipped a beat. Rank 67 of the heaven ranking prediction, Flying Immortal Sect Sword Immortal Pai Han. Sword Immortal Pai Han said slowly, it is clearly stated on the heaven ranking prediction. Su Zimo only has 2 battle records. The reason why he's ranked so highly is because his escape techniques are not bad. A few more scoffs sounded from the crowd. However, they were much more restrained than the brazen mockery from before. No matter what, the Battle of Absolute Thunder City was still an extremely powerful deterrent for most cultivators. Prince Ichio asked intentionally, how is he compared to you, fellow Taoist Pai Han? If we're talking about fleeing for our lives, I'll naturally have to admit defeat. Sword Immortal Pai Han said, however, if we're talking about a normal fight to the death, I'll consider him capable if he can even withstand 10 of my sword strikes. Prince Ichio clapped and declared loudly, Brother Qingqing, how about it? Shall we let the two of them spar before entering the Asura battlefield? Xie Qingqing took a deep breath and suppressed the rage in his heart. There will naturally be a chance to fight after we enter the Asura battlefield. Haha. Prince Ichio burst into laughter. I expected that you wouldn't dare to. Your mother is a lowlife who ascended from the lower worlds. Even if half of the bloodline that flows through your body belongs to father, it won't change the lowlife cowardice in your mother's bones. Chapter 2516, 2516 Terrifying Means. 2516 Terrifying Means. In the square of the Yenyang Palace. Many cultivators looked at Heaven Immortal Luo Yang, who had just come out and was in his twilight years. They could not help but be shocked and dumbfounded. To think that even Heaven Immortal Luo Yang, who was rank 8 on the Heaven ranking prediction, would end up in such a tragic state. Compared to Song Su, he's considered lucky. After all, he managed to survive. By the looks of it, he's already in his twilight years. It's impossible for him to even be on the Heaven ranking prediction, let alone maintain his rank 8. After a momentary silence, discussions broke out in the crowd. Some people began to point and whisper to him. Heaven Immortal Luo Yang had a dark expression. The words around him stabbed into his heart like sharp knives. His life was destroyed just like that. Destroyed in the hands of someone who had ascended from the lower worlds. What was even more ironic was that thousands of years ago, this person was so weak like an ant. In fact, he did not even take this person seriously. Right then, another light flashed above the square. Immediately after, a figure coughing out blood appeared and staggered to the ground, clutching his sunken chest with a pale expression. Prince Tianhuang. The crowd exclaimed. Prince Tianhuang was a popular candidate for the fight for the seal this time round. Although Prince Tianhuang did not have any powerful helpers, he was an expert who was on the top 10 of the Heaven ranking prediction to begin with. If he could truly ascend the Lone Island, he would have the greatest advantage against the other princes. Nobody expected Prince Tianhuang to be the first to be eliminated among the remaining princes. Even Xie Ling frowned slightly in surprise. Isn't this battle way too tragic? Indeed. It has only just begun, but 3 of the top 10 on the Heaven ranking prediction are already out. One is dead, one's lifespan is depleted, and another one is severely injured. It must be Zhong Feiyu. Apart from him, no one else can possess such powerful combat strength. It should be him. Although fellow Taoist Lai Xian has the same combat strength, he shouldn't be so ruthless to Prince Tianhuang. Everyone discussed fervently. Xie Ling went forward and took out a few spirit pills for Prince Tianhuang to consume. He frowned and asked, What's going on inside? Did Zhong Feiyu do this? No. Prince Tianhuang panted slightly and replied angrily with a livid expression. It's not Zhong Feiyu? Xie Ling was puzzled. After pondering for a moment, a thought flashed through his mind. Suddenly, he recalled that there seemed to be a person on the Heaven ranking prediction who specialized in a supreme divine power that could manipulate time. Could it be? Xie Ling's expression changed slightly in disbelief. Asura battlefield in front of the Malevolent Blood Lake. Prince Mingjiong was enraged after losing Song Su. At that moment he could no longer hold it in and said in a deep voice, In my opinion, we should join forces to suppress this person first. Exactly. Princess Yu Yan said, With this person blocking the bridge, none of us can go over. We can only watch as Xie Qingqing takes away the spirit cloud seal. All right. Prince Yu stood out as well and agreed. Let's join forces and suppress this person first. Prince Xingyan added hurriedly, That's right. It's fine if either of us obtains the spirit cloud seal. We can't let that bastard Xie Qingqing obtain it, right? Su Zimo looked at the hundreds of top-tier Heaven Immortals opposite him and sneered, A motley crowd. Even if you join forces, you're nothing compared to me. Those words were like a slap to everyone's faces. Almost all the Heaven Immortals present were grade 9 Heaven Immortals. Furthermore, some of them were even on the Heaven ranking prediction, such as Zhong Feiyu and Yu Hai. But now, Su Zimo's words targeted everyone. Arrogant fool. How brazen. Everyone, let's attack together and teach him an unforgettable lesson. Many cultivators were worked up and attacked one after another without the need for the princess to give the order, releasing divine powers and secret skills. The divine powers and secret skills surged in a single direction like countless torrents and rivers converging into a raging tide. One after another, heaven-grade dermic treasures turned into countless divine lights in midair and weaved into an impenetrable net that enveloped Su Zimo. 3 heads 6 arms. Against the encirclement of hundreds of cultivators, Su Zimo did not retreat at all and defended the Permethau bridge alone, releasing his supreme divine power. He grew 2 more heads and 4 arms. He held the Trinity Auspicious Jade in one hand, the Primordial Unity Horsetail Whip in another and the 7 Tails Phoenix Feather Fan in yet another. The 3 empty palms conjured divine powers and dermic arts as he stood on the spot and spun rapidly. The Trinity Auspicious Jade transformed into a streak of light in midair and struck the impenetrable web of dermic treasures, creating a gigantic hole. When the dermic treasures collided with the Trinity Auspicious Jade, they were brushed down instantly. In the blink of an eye, the entire net was shattered by the Trinity Auspicious Jade. Even if some heaven-grade dermic treasures managed to land, they were sent flying by the Green Lotus True Body. Su Zimo conjured the Spirit Turtle Shield and released the heavenly perfected water at the same time. It enveloped the Spirit Turtle Shield and made the defense of that innate divine power even more shocking, defending against the impact of many divine powers and secret skills. At the same time, Su Zimo channeled his secret skill and released the Mystic Spirit Big Dipper diagram, causing his strength to rise once more. Massive star regions appeared above his head and millions of stars scattered endless starlight that surged into his body. Even with hundreds of top heaven immortals attacking at the same time, they could not shake Su Zimo. In fact, they could not even make him take a step back. I'll let you guys witness my capabilities as well. After Su Zimo defended against the first wave of attacks, his gaze intensified and he conjured finger swords with both hands. A shocking killing intent burst forth from his body and surged into the clouds, shocking the 9 hells. He released the heaven and earth slaying sword arts at the same time. The next moment, the ground shook and the skies collapsed. Millions of heaven-slaying sword chi exploded in the crowd opposite. In the skies, the stars were in chaos and countless sword chi condensed into a sword chi divine dragon that swooped down. Everywhere it passed, it was blood-red and broken limbs flew everywhere. The ground beneath Prince Xingyan's feet suddenly split open and a sword chi soaring serpent burrowed out. In his hurry he dodged hurriedly. Even so, the soaring serpent snapped more than half of his body with a single bite. Fresh blood flowed and his organs spilled with a torrential blood stench. Prince Xingyan was scared out of his wits and did not dare to stay on the spot. He released the teleportation talisman and left the Asura battlefield. The battlefield fell into chaos because of the burst of the heaven and earth slaying sword arts. During this period of time, streaks of light flashed. Some people could not hold on any longer and chose to escape from the Asura battlefield. However, Su Zimo's counterattack did not stop. He conjured hand seals once more and channeled his essence spirit. Suddenly, 4 flames of different colors appeared beside him. The Southern Mingli Fire, Immortal Dao Fire, Fiend Dao Fire and Buddhist Dao Fire. The 4 flames fused together rapidly and transformed into a gigantic fireball, emitting an incomparably scorching heat that seemed like it could melt everything in the world. Lai Xian, who had an extremely deep cultivation in the Tao of Flames, could naturally sense the terrifying power contained in the fireball. However, that power was not enough to threaten him. Right then, Su Zimo threw the fireball towards the crowd. At the same time, another spirit consciousness flame burst forth from his consciousness and entered the fireball. At that point, Lai Xian's expression changed starkly. Chapter 25:17 Essence Spirit Fight. 25:17 Essence Spirit Fight. The synthesis of the 4 flames had already reached an extremely terrifying temperature. Now that another flame had fused into the gigantic fireball, the fireball underwent a qualitative change and its power increased exponentially. Hurry and escape. Lai Xian's eyes widened as he suddenly roared. The synthesis of 4 flames was not much of a threat to him. But now, even he had to release his full strength to defend against the synthesis of 5 flames. If that was the case for him, one could imagine what would happen to the others. Lai Xian was a reincarnated perfected immortal of the Yin-Yang Immortal Kingdom after all. Naturally, he did not want the many princes present to die here. Prince Feng, Prince Yu and the others had some insights into the Tao of Flames and could sense how terrifying Su Zimo's secret skill was. Now that they heard Lai Xian's warning, the few of them crushed their teleportation talismans without hesitation. It was a small matter if they could not get their hands on the Spirit Cloud Seal. However, it would be too late for regrets if their cultivations were crippled or they died because of it. Brother Zhong. Princess Yu Yan was still hesitant and asked with a voice transmission instinctively. Escape. Zhong Feiyu did not waste his breath and merely said a single word. His judgment was the same as Lai Xian. Of the cultivators present, he, Yu Hai and Lai Xian were probably the only ones who could defend against that secret skill. Nobody else would be spared. Some cultivators sensed that the situation was bad and did not dare to hesitate when they heard Lai Xian's reminder, retreating from the Asura battlefield one after another. However, some cultivators harbored hope. By the time Su Zimo's Pankati Dao fire exploded in the crowd and flames spread in all directions, it was already too late for them to escape. Some of the cultivators who were at the center of the Pankati Dao fire were incinerated and evaporated instantly. Their essence, spirits and bodies were destroyed without any ashes left. Boom, boom, boom. Zhong Feiyu, Lai Xian and Yu Hai released their bloodline phenomenons at the same time to defend against the Pankati Dao fire. Zhong Feiyu's bloodline phenomenon actually conjured a gigantic human phantom that towered into the skies and looked down on all living beings, protecting him within the sea of flames. A deep blue ocean appeared around Yu Hai, churning raging tides to defend against the surrounding flames. Lai Xian stood in the sea of flames with rising 9 suns behind him. However, at that moment, his eyes were closed and he was bathed in the Pankati Dao fire. The 9 blazing suns turned even hotter, as though they were sensing something. Zhong Feiyu and Yu Hai exchanged glances and released their bloodline phenomenons. Stepping on the flames, they formed a triangular formation and charged towards Su Zimo. Yu Hai hollered softly, "Su Zimo, let's see how much longer you can last after releasing secret skills of that level consecutively." In his opinion, Su Zimo was a grade 7 heaven immortal after all. Releasing heaven and earth slaying sword arts together with a flame secret skill of that level must have taken a huge toll on his essence spirit. However, he did not know that when Su Zimo was a grade 6 heaven immortal, his essence spirit was already at the level of a grade 9 heaven immortal. Now that Su Zimo had cultivated to become a grade 7 heaven immortal, his essence spirit realm had already surpassed that of a grade 9 heaven immortal. Coupled with the augmentation of the 6-tusk divine strength, although the strength of his essence spirit was not at the perfected 1 realm, it was extremely close. Otherwise, there was no way he could sense the 6 perfected immortals of Divine Firmament Palace above the ancient city. Su Zimo, you will definitely die today. Zhong Feiyu had long retracted his cynical attitude and viewed Su Zimo as the strongest opponent in his life. Prior to this, the reason why he wanted to kill Su Zimo was to please Zither Immortal Meng Yao and obtain the Pure Jade Manual. But now, his greatest goal was to kill Su Zimo and eliminate this threat. He did not dare to imagine if anyone of the same level could match Su Zimo by the time he cultivated to become a grade 8 or 9 heaven immortal. Su Zimo sneered, "If you want to kill me, I'll add fuel to the fire." Before his sentence was finished, he gripped the 7 Tails Phoenix Feather Fan with both hands and fanned the fire in front of him 3 times. The 7 Tails Phoenix Feather Fan was a top-tier dermic treasure of the Tao of Fire to begin with. Although it was suppressed by the White Tiger blood Malevolent blood and could not condense a divine phoenix, the might of the fan was still present. The power of the Pankati Dao fire was raised to another level after borrowing the force of the wild wind created by the dermic treasure of the Tao of Fire. Gulp, gulp. In the blink of an eye, the deep sea around Yu Hai turned incomparably scorching and surged with countless bubbles as steam billowed on the surface of the sea. Yu Hai's bloodline phenomenon was about to be evaporated by the Pankati Dao fire. Zhong Feiyu's situation was not much better. The humanoid phantom behind him dimmed significantly and swayed slightly, as though it could not withstand the heat of the Pankati Dao fire and could collapse at any moment. Don't waste time with him. Let's use our essence spirit secret skills to destroy him. Zhong Feiyu hurriedly sent a voice transmission to Yu Hai with his spirit consciousness. All right. Yu Hai had that intention as well. If the two of them joined forces and released their essence spirit secret skills, they would definitely be able to deal a fatal blow to Su Zimo. As long as Su Zimo's essence spirit was impacted, the flame's secret skill he released would be destroyed on its own. Phew. Yu Hai's glabella shone and his massive spirit consciousness condensed continuously. In the blink of an eye, a seemingly tiny mountain flew out of his consciousness. However, it contained a thick and majestic power of spirit consciousness and flew towards Su Zimo. Go! A sword beam flew out from Zhong Feiyu's glabella as well, arriving instantly in Su Zimo's face. Essence spirit? Su Zimo had a fearless expression and chose to ignore the sword chi secret skill released by Zhong Feiyu. He condensed his spirit consciousness and activated a secret skill. If you want to fight with your essence spirit, I'll show you what an essence spirit secret skill is. Su Zimo hollered and released the Gautama dermic seal first. A bedazzling golden rune struck the incoming mountain peak. The collision between essence spirit secret skills was silent but extremely dangerous. Yu Hai's expression changed starkly and his body swayed slightly. His face turned pale and he nearly fell from midair. He was the one disadvantaged in the fight between essence spirit secret skills, and his essence spirit received quite a shock. This person's essence spirit realm is even higher than mine. Yu Hai had a horrified expression. Furthermore, the might of Su Zimo's essence spirit secret skill of the Buddhist monasteries was shocking as well. The essence spirit of the Green Lotus true body was synthesized with the Dragon Phoenix essence spirit. Coupled with the fact that he cultivated the taboo mystic classic, the Prajna Nirvana Sutra, he had never encountered anyone in the same cultivation realm who could match him in essence spirit fights. Back in the Emperor's tomb, it was because he released a series of essence spirit secret skills in succession that Yunting was defeated and almost killed. Sensing danger, Yu Hai took out a teleportation talisman without hesitation, wanting to escape from this place. However, the moment the teleportation talisman shattered, Su Zimo's second essence spirit secret skill descended. It was like a bolt of lightning streaking through the night. A whip that shone with endless lightning crossed the void and the sea of flames, whipping him. Yu Hai shuddered and the light in his eyes gradually dimmed. However, his figure was still brought away from the Asura battlefield by the power of the teleportation talisman and vanished. Chapter 25 1825-18 Retreating in Shock. 25-18 Retreating in Shock. Zhong Feiyu did not care about Yu Hai's life and death. He only noticed that his spirit consciousness sword chi entered Su Zimo's consciousness without any resistance. Did he succeed? Zhong Feiyu believed that no essence spirit could defend against his spirit consciousness sword chi. Furthermore, his essence spirit realm far surpassed that of a grade 9 heaven immortal. The power of his essence spirit was even infinitely close to the perfected one realm. Unfortunately, when the sword chi entered Su Zimo's consciousness, it vanished without a trace like a rock entering the sea. Su Zimo did not seem to be affected or injured at all. Not only that, Su Zimo even turned around and grinned at him. That smile sent chills down his spine. The reason why Su Zimo dared to make such a choice was naturally because he had the Green Lotus sword condensed from the Green Lotus seeds in his consciousness that could neutralize Zhong Feiyu's spirit consciousness sword chi. Among the essence spirit secret skills he controlled, the two with the strongest might were not the ones earlier on, but the reverse scale. He had specially left that essence spirit secret skill for Zhong Feiyu. Su Zimo smiled at Zhong Feiyu before a palm-sized dragon scale flew out from his glabella and sped towards the latter. Although the dragon scale looked ordinary, Zhong Feiyu felt a strong sense of danger. However, he was indignant if he were to retreat just like that. Unlike everyone else, his capabilities and strength surpassed others by a level. Coupled with the teleportation talisman in his hands, he could leave at any moment. It was impossible for Su Zimo to kill him. At that thought, Zhong Feiyu did not retreat. Instead, he released a stream of spirit consciousness and tried to make contact with the dragon scale. The moment the two essence spirit secret skills made contact and before they even collided, Zhong Feiyu's expression changed starkly as he severed the spirit consciousness and retreated. However, the reverse scale had long locked onto him. It followed his aura and continued chasing like a shadow. Ground prison painting. Right then, Su Zimo's voice sounded once more and a supreme divine power descended. Once Zhong Feiyu was trapped on the spot and delayed for a bit, the reverse scale would descend and he would have nowhere to run. A divine power like ground prison painting posed no threat to Zhong Feiyu. However, he looked at the incoming dragon scale with deep fear in his eyes. Su Zimo, it's difficult for me to unleash my methods in the Asura battlefield. I'll let you be smug today. We'll definitely fight during the battle for the heaven ranking. Before his sentence was finished, Zhong Feiyu crushed the teleportation talisman without hesitation. With a bright flash, he left the Asura battlefield instantly. The reverse scale still wanted to chase after the aura left behind by Zhong Feiyu. Unfortunately, Zhong Feiyu was extracted from this space. Although the reverse scale was powerful, it could not cross space and gradually dissipated. Su Zimo was not surprised by this outcome. Zhong Feiyu was way too cautious and could sense danger. He did not dare to take the reverse scale head-on and merely touched it. Furthermore, Zhong Feiyu's essence spirit was not inferior to his. Otherwise, his essence spirit would have been injured with that slight touch earlier on. Above the ancient city, the 6 perfected immortals of Divine Firmament Palace looked down with dumbfounded expressions. Previously they had expected this battle to be extremely intense. Zhong Feiyu, Song Su, Heaven Immortal Luo Yang, Yu Hai and Xie Tianhuang were all on the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction. However, alongside hundreds of other heaven immortals, they were completely defeated by a single person. This was an outcome none of them expected. Song Su and Yu Hai were dead. Heaven Immortal Luo Yang's lifespan had decreased significantly. Although he was still alive, he was no different from a cripple. Xie Tianhuang survived and escaped with serious injuries. Among the 5 of them, only Zhong Feiyu managed to escape completely unscathed. Furthermore, in that final scene, Zhong Feiyu was clearly shocked by Su Zimo's methods and did not dare to fight again. The other hundreds of heaven immortals suffered even more losses and only a small half managed to escape alive. The rest were buried in the sea of flames. Divine Swamp murmured with a conflicted expression, "Who would have thought that the fight for the seal would end in such a manner?" Divine Cloud sighed as well. That's right. Prior to this, everyone thought that there would be rivers of blood on this Permitha bridge and corpses would be strewn all over the lone island. However, he guarded the Permitha bridge alone and stopped everyone outside. Xie Qingqing was the only one who arrived on the island. Even now, Divine Wind still felt that it was unbelievable. Divine Flames lamented. There were only 2 people left in Xie Qingqing's group, but they became the final victors. Chaos, complete chaos. Divine Rainbow murmured continuously. What? The others asked instinctively. Divine Rainbow looked at the heaven ranking prediction before him and smiled bitterly. In this battle, Su Zimo single-handedly turned the heaven ranking prediction into chaos. Indeed. Fairy Divine Crane nodded as well. 3 of the top 10 on the heaven ranking prediction have been completely eliminated. Furthermore, among the cultivators who just died, some of them were on the heaven ranking prediction as well. How should we rank that lad? Divine Rainbow asked. Rank 3 at least. In my opinion, he can be ranked 2. He's only a grade 7 heaven immortal. It doesn't make sense if we place him at our rank 2. No matter what, he has to be above Zhong Feiyu. Although Zhong Feiyu could not unleash his full combat strength on the Asura battlefield, the pressure on Su Zimo in this battle was even greater as he took on everyone single-handedly. Yes, I think rank 3 is alright then. After all, Jianghu isn't weak either. Fairy Divine Crane said, furthermore, being ranked 2 or 3 makes no difference for him. If I'm not wrong, it will be either him or Yun Ting who will take the rank 1 spot. Who will write the updates on Su Zimo? Divine Rainbow asked. Although it was only a huge battle, there was a lot of information. Let me do it. Fairy Divine Crane took the initiative to say. Don't rush, let's wait first. It's not over just yet. Divine Cloud reminded. There were only 2 people left in front of the Malevolent Blood Lake. Lai Xian and Su Zimo. Divine Rainbow's expression changed as he suddenly said, interesting. Lai Xian actually managed to comprehend something from Su Zimo's flame secret skill earlier on. He seems to have benefited quite a bit. In that case, does Lai Xian have a chance of defeating this lad? Indeed, it's possible. Don't forget, Lai Xian is at his peak condition right now. As for Su Zimo, he has just fought a fierce battle and has almost released all his trump cards. He has expended a lot of energy. Fairy Divine Crane said hurriedly, even if Lai Xian wins, Su Zimo's ranking won't change. Of course. The other few perfected immortals chuckled. On the battlefield below, the Pankati Dao fire was gradually extinguished. Lai Xian looked at Su Zimo opposite him and was in no hurry to attack. Su Zimo, I won't take advantage of you. You've expended too much energy fighting strong foes today. To be honest, I've just comprehended something and broke through the Great Sun Sutra once more. If I attack you now, it would be like bullying you. Su Zimo looked at Lai Xian quietly. After he was done speaking, he strode forward and said, "Cut the crap. If you want to fight, fight." Chapter 25 1925-19 Suppression once more. 25-19 Suppression once more. Looking at Su Zimo who was charging over, Lai Xian shook his head gently. "That's good as well. After I suppress you, I'll spare you too and we'll be even." That was the only way he could get rid of the trauma in his heart. Otherwise, every time he saw Su Zimo in the future, he would instinctively recall that he was released after being suppressed by the latter. Lai Xian channeled his bloodline phenomenon and his blood chi surged. Rising 9 suns appeared behind him, emitting a terrifying heat with raging flames as his aura rose continuously. Everyone thinks that when the Great Sun Sutra is cultivated to its limits, the bloodline phenomenon will produce 9 blazing suns. Lai Xian said in a deep voice, "Even many people from the Yin-Yang royal family don't know that the peak of this sutra technique is the 9 of 9 convergence, creating a single blazing sun." The moment he said that, the 9 blazing suns behind Lai Xian collided rapidly and released a blinding light. Even with the strength of Su Zimo's eyes, he narrowed his eyes and paused for a moment. In reality, the light of the 9 suns converging alone was enough to blind cultivators of the same cultivation realm. The reason why Su Zimo's eyes were fine was all thanks to the illumination and nether glow stones in them. Earlier on, I comprehended the final true meaning of the Great Sun Sutra through your fire secret skill. As the first person to endure this power, you should feel honored by your defeat. Lai Xian was extremely confident and charged towards Su Zimo as though he was one with the gigantic blazing sun behind him. With the 9 of 9 convergence, the 9 blazing suns became a singular sun and Lai Xian's combat strength increased exponentially. Su Zimo's figure was still in midair as he clasped his palms together and intertwined his fingers, forming a strange dermic seal. "Me." At the same time, Su Zimo chanted Sanskrit and raised the dermic seal, striking towards Lai Xian. Instantly in Lai Xian's eyes, Su Zimo seemed to have vanished. What he saw was a pitch-black mountain range that circled endlessly, enveloping a pure land. A ferocious dermic seal of the Buddhist monasteries descended. The Great Vajrawheel Seal. Back in Avicii, Su Zimo was lucky enough to obtain the importation of Emperor Ananda. He hid the profound truths of the Great Vajrawheel Seal and Great Mount Meru Seal in the Siraka flower. A world in a flower. That was the reason why he was able to see the complete Vajra and Meru divine mountains of the Buddhist monasteries and comprehend the essence of those 2 dermic seals. Boom. There was a deafening bang. Lai Xian's charging figure was blocked by Su Zimo's Great Vajrawheel Seal and could not advance a half-step. Even the Great Sun phenomenon behind him began to sway slightly. The Great Vajrawheel Seal was indestructible and immovable. Lai Xian felt that he had not bumped into a human, but an incomparably tough mountain peak that stood upright. How is that possible? Lai Xian channeled his blood chi and let out a long howl. The Great Sun phenomenon behind him burst forth with endless flames that engulfed the Great Vajra mountain. Hum. Su Zimo chanted Sanskrit and conjured hand seals once more, as though another mountain had been condensed. The moment the mountain peak descended, Lai Xian felt an unimaginable pressure. If the Great Vajrawheel Mountain gave him the feeling that it was indestructible and immovable, there was only a single word to describe the feeling of Su Zimo's second dermic seal: heavy. It was heavy and majestic, descending with a shocking might. How could there be any living being in this world that could withstand such a terrifying mountain peak? The Great Mount Meru Seal had descended. After cultivating the Prajna Nirvana Sutra, Su Zimo's power would increase exponentially if he released any dermic art of the Buddhist monasteries. Furthermore, the might of the 2 dermic seals of the Buddhist monasteries was extremely terrifying to begin with. Boom. There was another loud bang. A majestic mountain peak crushed down heavily on Lai Xian. The gigantic sun behind him seemed to be overwhelmed and swayed violently, flickering with a bright light as though it could collapse at any moment. At that moment, Lai Xian was carrying the Great Mount Meru on his back and the Great Vajra Mountain in front of him. Unable to advance, he was under immense pressure and his bones crackled. Ah! Lai Xian roared and bit the tip of his tongue gently, spitting out a mouthful of essence blood. He released a secret skill and the power in his body rose once more, throwing out the great Mount Meru. However, at that moment, it was as though an anaconda had slithered over from beneath his feet and coiled around him instantly. At this distance, Su Zimo would not give him any chance. Lai Xian had just removed Mount Meru when he was restricted by Su Zimo once more. Under the continuous suppression of the Great Vajra Wheel Seal and Great Mount Meru Seal, his Great Sun phenomenon was already on the verge of collapse. Now that Su Zimo was closing in, it broke down completely. It was almost the same situation. Lai Xian was restrained by Su Zimo's anaconda coil once more. His eyes bulged and were bloodshot, unable to move at all as he listened to the sound of bones grinding in his body. As long as Su Zimo exerted strength, he could crush Lai Xian's body. Su Zimo's palm hovered above Lai Xian's head the entire time. The latter would not even get a chance to send his essence spirit out of his body. Lai Xian was way too aggrieved. Previously he was distracted because he wanted to save Prince Yan. As such, it was understandable for him to be taken advantage of by Su Zimo. But now, the two of them were fighting openly and in less than 3 moves, he was suppressed by Su Zimo once more. The most frustrating thing was that he used the same move twice. Lai Xian felt his vision darken and his consciousness blur, gradually unable to hold on. Suddenly, his body lightened and the suffocating, ubiquitous pressure from earlier on vanished instantly. Lai Xian half knelt on the ground, panting heavily. "I've already said that I'll let you off after suppressing you again." Su Zimo's voice sounded not far ahead. Lai Xian did not look up. He no longer knew how he should face Su Zimo in the future. More importantly, a sense of helplessness rose in his heart. He had already cultivated the Great Sun Sutra to the peak and condensed the bloodline phenomenon of 9 suns convergence. Even so, he could not defeat Su Zimo, who had just gone through a massive battle and was suppressed within 3 moves. He felt that he might never be able to surpass this person in the future. Lai Xian raised his head and looked at Su Zimo, who was not far away, with a conflicted expression. This cultivator who looked like a frail scholar gave him the feeling of the unshakable Great Vajra Mountain and the unstoppable Great Mount Meru. The pressure was immense and it was impossible for him to overcome. Even as a reincarnated perfected immortal who had gone through 2 lives, he could not surpass this person. Unlike the others who were in the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction, Su Zimo did not kill Lai Xian. Firstly, it was because of Xie Qingqing's request. Secondly, he felt that Lai Xian was quite an upright person. Thirdly, Su Zimo had another motive. If Xie Qingqing had not pleaded for mercy, Su Zimo would have killed Lai Xian a long time ago. In a certain sense, Xie Qingqing was Lai Xian's savior. Now that Xie Qingqing had successfully obtained the Spirit Cloud Seal and would rule over a territory, he needed top-tier experts by his side. Lai Xian was a good candidate. Given Lai Xian's endowment and experience, he would definitely be able to become a perfected immortal in the future. With his support, Xie Qingqing would definitely be able to gain a foothold in the fights within the royal family of the Yenyang Immortal Kingdom in the future. Chapter 25 2025-20 Prince of Spirit Cloud County. 25-20 Prince of Spirit Cloud County. In the square of the Yenyang Palace. Song Su, who was in the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction, was dead. Heaven Immortal Luo Yang was now in his twilight years and Prince Tianhuang was severely injured. Everyone was filled with emotions after seeing that. They had long expected that the battle for the seal would be unusually intense. However, to think that the battle would surpass the level of insanity. It could even be described as tragic. Even 3 experts on the top 10 of the heaven ranking prediction ended up in such states. Furthermore, that's them with the teleportation talismans. Without the teleportation talismans, Heaven Immortal Luo Yang and Prince Tianhuang might not have been spared either. Even if Heaven Immortal Luo Yang isn't dead, he won't be able to live for long. Many cultivators pointed at the white-haired and old Heaven Immortal Luo Yang without any reservations. Heaven Immortal Luo Yang's old face was dark. Prior to this, he was rank 8 on the heaven ranking prediction and was at his peak. When the surrounding cultivators saw him, they would reveal looks of reverence. Who would dare to spout nonsense? But now he was in his twilight years and his blood chi was weak. His essence spirit was depleted and he might not be able to defeat any of the grade 9 heaven immortals present, let alone make it back into the heaven ranking prediction. Given Heaven Immortal Luo Yang's previous status and glorious achievements, there was no need for him to stay here and endure such humiliation. However, he was indignant. He wanted to wait here for the final outcome. He wanted to know about Su Zimo's crushing defeat or even death right away. He believed that Zhong Feiyu could do it. Zhong Feiyu was a reincarnated perfected immortal who was rank 3 on the heaven ranking prediction after all. Furthermore, he could join forces with Yu Hai, and there were hundreds of heaven immortal experts with them. Right then, a light flashed above the square and figures appeared one after another. Prince Xingyan dragged his battered body and escaped. His face was pale and his eyes were filled with fear. It was unknown how much shock he endured. Most of the other dozens of cultivators were covered in injuries and fresh blood flowed. Xia Ling hurried forward and helped Prince Xingyan stabilize his injuries and reconstruct his body. Prince Xingyan is out as well. It's expected. His cultivation isn't high to begin with. The 2 experts under his lead who are on the heaven ranking prediction are far too inferior to Zhong Feiyu and the others. How many princes are left? There's only Prince Mingjiong, Princess Yu Yen, Prince Feng and Prince Yu left. However, Princess Yu Yen has the help of Zhong Feiyu while Prince Yu has the help of Yu Hai. The chances are higher for the 2 of them. There seems to be one more missing? Another cultivator calculated for a moment and asked with a frown when he realized that the numbers were not right. Another person thought for a long time before remembering and pouting. There's also Xie Qingqing who went in with just slightly more than 10 people. He doesn't stand a chance at all. That's right. By his side, the only person who can barely be considered as a somebody is Su Zimo of the Academy. However, I heard that he's only a grade 6 heaven immortal. Another person laughed. Everyone, what do you think? The battle for the seal was so tragic this time round. Song Su, heaven immortal Luo Yang and Prince Heaven Phoenix ended up in such a state. Is a grade 6 heaven immortal like him enough? Most of the cultivators were attracted by the situation of Song Su, heaven immortal Luo Yang and the others, and did not notice the changes in the heaven ranking prediction. Listening to the discussions around him, heaven immortal Luo Yang, Prince Tianhuang, Prince Xingyan and the others who had just escaped from the Asura battlefield had ugly expressions. What do you guys know? Prince Xingyan could not hold it in any longer and cursed at the crowd. Everyone was at a loss. Suddenly, another flash of light appeared above the square. Immediately after, the figures of Prince Mingjiong, Prince Feng and Prince Yu descended above the square. Before long, Princess Yu Yan's figure appeared as well. At the same time, more than 100 heaven immortals burning with flames and black smoke appeared one after another, shouting for help with hoarse and tragic voices. A group of cultivators under Xia Ling hurried forward and saved the heaven immortals. What's going on? Since the 4 princes are out, the battle for the seal should have ended, right? Who obtained the spirit cloud seal? Princess Yu Yan. Many cultivators were confused and countless questions surfaced in their minds. Where were Zhong Feiyu and Yu Hai? Where were the others? Where was the spirit cloud seal? Who burned these heaven immortals to such an extent? As everyone discussed, another light flashed above the square and Yu Hai's figure appeared, falling to the ground with a thud. Yu Hai did not seem to be injured at all. However, everyone's expressions changed when they scanned with their spirit consciousnesses. He was dead. Rank 7 on the heaven ranking prediction, Yu Hai of Mountain Sea Immortal Sect was dead as well. What happened inside? Is there a need to ask? Zhong Feiyu is the only one left inside. He must have done it. Princess Yu Yan's expression was cold as she harumphed coldly. This has nothing to do with Brother Zhong. Don't spout nonsense. With a single glance, Xia Ling could tell that Yu Hai's essence spirit was severely injured and was dead. If it was not Zhong Feiyu's doing, there was only a single possibility. Another beam of light flashed on the square. When Zhong Feiyu appeared, his face was pale and he looked flustered. Even though he had already returned to the Yenyang Palace, he still turned back with lingering fear. After ensuring that he had broken free from the dragon scale completely, he heaved a sigh of relief and gradually composed himself. Brother Zhong, even you? Princess Yu Yan looked at Zhong Feiyu with a conflicted expression, wanting to speak but stopped. Zhong Feiyu was silent for a moment before saying, Yu Yan, I'm sorry. I couldn't unleash my full strength in the Asura battlefield and my hands were tied. But don't worry, I'll let him witness my true strength in the battle for the heaven ranking. With that said, he turned to leave and sped in the direction of the teleportation formation in the capital of Yenyang, disappearing before long. Princess Yu Yen stomped her feet in anger. What was the point of him regaining his dignity in the battle for the heaven ranking? She had already lost her chance to become the princess of Spirit Cloud County. When Heaven Immortal Luo Yang saw that, he had already guessed the final outcome and knew that it was meaningless for him to stay. After Zhong Feiyu left, he left as well, prepared to return to Flying Immortal Sect. The surrounding cultivators were still puzzled. What did Zhong Feiyu mean by that? Even he lost? It should be. From the looks of it, he must have lost to the reincarnated perfected immortal of our Yenyang Immortal Kingdom, Lord Lai Xian. I've long known that Lord Lai Xian's strength is above Zhong Feiyu. But what's the use of Lord Lai Xian being inside? He's not a prince. How can he obtain the Spirit Cloud Seal? We seem to have neglected someone. Right then, another person left the Asura battlefield. Lai Xian appeared. Looking at the dense crowd around him, Lai Xian sighed. The battle for the seal is over. It's over? Who obtained the Spirit Cloud Seal? Everyone asked hurriedly. Lai Xian said, there's only a single prince left in the Asura battlefield and you guys are asking me who obtained the Spirit Cloud Seal. There's only a prince left. Could it be Xie Qingqing? How is that possible? Right then, a dignified voice sounded from above the Yenyang Palace. The Spirit Cloud Seal already belongs to someone. The new prince of Spirit Cloud County is Xie Qingqing. Accompanied by that voice, Xie Qingqing appeared above the palace with a bedazzling seal in his hands. Instantly, it was as though he was covered in endless glory. Under the cover of the Spirit Cloud Seal, he shone brightly. Against that light, almost no one noticed that not far behind him was a green-robed cultivator with refined features. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.